You, a 14-year-old orphan boy, blocked the path of the female CEO's car. She pulled an old booklet from her soaking wet pocket and handed it to her. Before he died, my grandpa said if I ever got hungry, I could come find you. But when the female CEO snatched the booklet and flipped it open, the two words marriage contract made her pupils contract instantly. Even more unbelievable, her name was clearly written there. At the end of the marriage contract, the tiny words at the top of the line were now glaringly bright: granddaughter by Ningbin and grandson He Chang. United in matrimony, forever bound in goodwill. Bai Ningbin gripped the booklet tightly, her fingers pressing hard. She looked up at you, her face turning cold. You're He Chang? You nodded blankly. Yes. Bai Ningbin laughed in anger, her chest heaving violently. That damn old man, he's been dead nearly a year, and in this day and age, he still has to use some absurd child marriage to disgust me. A strong sense of nausea churned in her stomach. She gritted out 3 words. Name your price. How much money do you want to take this thing and get lost? Never to appear in front of me again? You were stunned, shaking your head. I don't want money. Grandpa said I have to live here until I'm an adult. I have nowhere else to go. Bai Ningbin stared at you intently, trying to find traces of a lie on your face, but in your eyes, there was only a calmness and helplessness that didn't match your age. She turned and quickly walked back to the luxury car, slamming the door hard. Inside the car, she grabbed her phone, and her suppressed anger exploded completely. Dad, you better give me an explanation. Who is this beggar kid with the marriage contract at the door? A tired voice came from the other end of the line, saying something. Bai Ningbin's face grew uglier. I don't care. This was Grandpa's decision alone. Why should I bear the consequences? I disagree. Let him get lost, go wherever he wants. She roared into the phone, the expensive car trembling along with her, but the voice on the other end remained soft and mild, leaving all her anger with nowhere to go. A few minutes later, Bai Ningbin hung up, slamming her phone heavily onto the passenger seat. She closed her eyes, rubbed her temples, and when she opened them again, only indifference remained in her eyes. She pushed open the car door and came back to stand before you. The cold rain fell on you as she only uttered 2 words. Come in. Holding your woven bag, you hesitated and followed her inside. Your shoes stepped onto the villa's polished marble floor, leaving a trail of wet footprints. Stop. Bai Ningbin's sharp scolding rang out, her eyes almost spilling with disgust. She threw a pair of slippers and a towel from the shoe cabinet. Change into these. And in my house, you'd better remember a few rules. You took the towel, rubbed your face and hair haphazardly, and listened with your head down. Bai Ningbin crossed her arms, her voice icy. First, this villa has 3 floors. The second floor is my private area. Without my permission, you're not allowed up. Second, don't call me with those disgusting terms. Call me Miss Bai. Third, and most importantly, to everyone, you're just a child of a distant relative of mine, staying temporarily in Kuanqing. If you dare to say a single wrong word outside, I'll throw you out. To sleep on the streets again. You silently nodded. I understand. Miss Bai. Bai Ningbin led you through the empty, luxurious living room. Stopping in front of an inconspicuous small door under the stairs, she pulled it open, revealing a narrow storage room crammed with all kinds of clutter, the air thick with dust and mold. Bai Ningbin pointed to the only empty spot inside, her tone devoid of warmth. You'll stay here. There was no bed, no blanket inside, only the cold floor. You looked at the small, dark space, but raised your head to give her a faint smile. Thank you, Miss Bai. For you, having a place to shelter from the wind and rain was enough. Bai Ningbin was stung by your smile, an inexplicable irritation rising in her heart. What are you smiling about? Thanking her for stuffing you like trash into a storage room? Or are you mocking her this way? That fleeting trace of guilt was quickly extinguished by her. She was the victim. With a bang, she slammed the door shut, locking you and your smile together into endless darkness. Late at night, the rain stopped. You, completely soaked, curled up on the cold floor. You held the booklet out to her. Before he died, my grandpa said if I ever got hungry, I could come find you. But when the female CEO snatched the booklet and flipped it open, the 2 words marriage contract made her pupils contract instantly. Even more unbelievable, her name was clearly written there. At the end of the marriage contract, the tiny words at the top of the line were now glaringly bright: granddaughter by Ningbin and grandson He Chang. United in matrimony, forever bound in goodwill. Bai Ningbin gripped the booklet tightly, her fingers pressing hard. She looked up at you, her face turning cold. You're Hee-chang? You nodded blankly. Yes. Bai Ningbin laughed in anger, her chest heaving violently. That damn old man, he's been dead nearly a year, and in this day and age. He still has to use some absurd child marriage to disgust me. A strong sense of nausea churned in her stomach. She gritted out 3 words. Name your price. How much money do you want to take this thing and get lost? Never to appear in front of me again? You were stunned, shaking your head. I don't want money. Grandpa said I have to live here until I'm an adult. I have nowhere else to go. Bai Ningbin stared at you intently, trying to find traces of a lie on your face, but in your eyes, there was only a calmness and helplessness that didn't match your age. She turned and quickly walked back to the luxury car, slamming the door hard. Inside the car, she grabbed her phone. And her suppressed anger exploded completely. Dad, you better give me an explanation. Who is this beggar kid with the marriage contract at the door? A tired voice came from the other end of the line, saying something. Bai Ningbin's face grew uglier. I don't care. This was Grandpa's decision alone. Why should I bear the consequences? I disagree. Let him get lost, go wherever he wants. She roared into the phone, the expensive car trembling along with her, but the voice on the other end remained soft and mild, leaving all her anger with nowhere to go. A few minutes later, Bai Ningbin hung up, slamming her phone heavily onto the passenger seat. She closed her eyes, rubbed her temples, and when she opened them again, only indifference remained in her eyes. She pushed open the car door and came back to stand before you. The cold rain fell on you as she only uttered 2 words. Come in. Holding your woven bag, you hesitated and followed her inside. Your shoes stepped onto the villa's polished marble floor, leaving a trail of wet footprints. Stop. Bai Ningbin's sharp scolding rang out, her eyes almost spilling with disgust. She threw a pair of slippers and a towel from the shoe cabinet. Change into these. And in my house, you'd better remember a few rules. You took the towel, rubbed your face and hair haphazardly, and listened with your head down. Bai Ningbin crossed her arms, her voice icy. First, this villa has 3 floors. The second floor is my private area. Without my permission, you're not allowed up. Second, don't call me with those disgusting terms. Call me Miss Bai. Third, and most importantly, to everyone, you're just a child of a distant relative of mine, staying temporarily in Kuanqing. If you dare to say a single wrong word outside, I'll throw you out. To sleep on the streets again. You silently nodded. I understand. Miss Bai. Bai Ningbin led you through the empty, luxurious living room, stopping in front of an inconspicuous small door under the stairs. She pulled it open, revealing a narrow storage room crammed with all kinds of clutter, the air thick with dust and mold. Bai Ningbin pointed to the only empty spot inside, her tone devoid of warmth. You'll stay here. There was no bed, no blanket inside, only the cold floor. You looked at the small, dark space, but raised your head to give her a faint smile. Thank you, Miss Bai. For you. Having a place to shelter from the wind and rain was enough. Bai Ningbin was stung by your smile, an inexplicable irritation rising in her heart. What are you smiling about? Thanking her for stuffing you like trash into a storage room? Or are you mocking her this way? That fleeting trace of guilt was quickly extinguished by her. He was the victim. With a bang, she slammed the door shut, locking you and your smile together into endless darkness. Late at night, the rain stopped. You, completely soaked, curled up on the cold floor. Where are you from? How old are you? Got a girlfriend? Flustered by her enthusiastic gesture, your face turned red and your body stiffened. My name is Hee-chang, 14 years old. Next to Bai Bingbing, lowering his voice. Not bad, Boss Bai. Look at this little guy, so soft and well-behaved. His cooking skills are on par with Michelin. You don't know how lucky you are. Shut up. Bai Bingbing squeezed out 2 words through gritted teeth. Gu Qingqing made a face at her and turned to you. Xiao Chang, from now on, Big Sister will watch over you. If anyone dares bully you, tell Big Sister. After breakfast, you cleaned up and put on a faded canvas school bag. You said softly, Miss Bai. I'm going to school to register. Gu Qingqing had just changed into a tight-fitting sportswear, ready to go out. Which school? Ikuan number 2 high? It's on my way. Let Big Sister give you a ride. You shook your head. You took a small step back. No need, thank you. It's not far. I can walk there myself. After speaking, you bowed to them. You turned and walked out of the luxurious villa. Bai Bingbing stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, watching your thin, small figure gradually recede. She remembered his grandfather grasping her hand on his deathbed, his cloudy eyes glinting with a golden light. Bingbing. The He family's kindness, our Bai family must repay. You must take good care of He Chong. If he suffers the slightest grievance, I'll make your life miserable down there. So annoying. Bai Bingbing, flustered, grabbed her car keys and stormed out, slamming the door. Outside the gates of Ikuan number 2 high. You looked at the grand school entrance but felt your old clothes made you out of place. Just as you mustered the courage to walk in, a security guard immediately blocked your path. Hey, stop. A middle-aged security guard looked you over with impatience, his eyes full of contempt. What are you doing? This is a school, not a place for scavenging. You quickly explained politely. Uncle, I'm a new student here to register. But the guard sneered. A new student? You? Let's see your acceptance letter. You quickly unzipped your bag and reached inside to search, but he grew impatient. He roughly shoved you. Stop dawdling. Get out of the way. Don't block people. You lost your balance, staggering back 2 steps. With a crash, the already fragile bag strap snapped, and the backpack hit the ground heavily. Its contents scattered everywhere, a worn book with curled corners, a few ballpoint pens nearly out of ink. And the acceptance letter you had neatly folded. The murmurs of nearby students. And snickers stabbed at you like needles. Your face flushed bright red, and you crouched down awkwardly to pick things up. Just then, a black Porsche slowly pulled up at the school gate. The rear window lowered silently, revealing a cold, strikingly beautiful face. Her gaze behind glasses swept over the commotion at the gate. A syrupy sweet voice floated out through the half-lowered window. Oh, Uncle Zhang. What's with all this anger? The fierce-looking security guard, upon hearing this voice, immediately broke into a fawning grin. Miss Liu, what brings you here? I'm here to pick up a friend. The woman called Miss Liu took off her glasses, revealing a face full of charm. Her eyes sparkled. This little guy is a student at your school, right? He's not even wearing a uniform. He must be a new student here to register. How can you be so harsh with him? The guard's face turned green and white. He quickly explained, I just saw him dressed all shabby. Worried he? Worried about what? Lu Ruyan let out a light laugh, her voice still sweet. But the meaning behind her words was firm. He's here to study. You blocked him outside. And scattered his things all over. That's not good. The reputation of our Ikuan number 2 high. Is not like this, is it? Cold sweat dripped from the guard. This Miss Liu was the daughter of a school board member. One word from her could get him fired. He quickly bent down and frantically helped you pick up your things. Sorry, classmate. I failed to recognize a true person. You were flustered by this sudden turn of events, at a loss. You could only hug the retrieved backpack and stare blankly at the black Porsche. Lu Ruyan gave you a playful wink, then put on her glasses and raised the window. Let's go. The car glided silently into the campus and disappeared around the corner. When you returned to the villa in the evening, the living room was a mess, covered in clothes Gu Qingqing had changed out of. And leftover snacks. The air was thick with a lazy atmosphere. You said nothing. He silently walked into the storage room, put on the old apron, and began to tidy up. First, take out the trash. Then wipe the coffee table spotless, arrange the cushions on the sofa, and finally pick up the cloth. He crouched down and wiped the marble floor bit by bit, erasing all the footprints left during the day. When the living room was clean again, the villa door opened, and Gu Qingqing walked in with another woman, who was none other than Lu Ruyan, the one who helped you out at the school gate during the day. Wow, Gu Qingqing exclaimed exaggeratedly, oh my god. Has the snail girl been here? Lu Ruyan's eyes fell directly on you, who were still holding a cloth. A playful smile curled at the corner of her mouth. Little brother. Did you do all this? So capable. You saw her. Your cheek slightly burning, nodded, hello. You can call me Sister Lu Ruyan. Her voice turned into that sweet, cutesy tone, with a hook at the end. Your face turned even redder, you lowered your head, and your fingers nervously twisted the corner of your apron. Say it, Lu Ruyan leaned down close to you, call me sister. Big sister will give you candy. Beside her, Gu Qingqing laughed uncontrollably and joined in the teasing. Right, and me, call me Sister Xiaoqing. Just then, Bai Ningbing came down from the second floor in a silk robe, seeing this scene in the living room. Her brows immediately furrowed. At this moment, Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan were flanking you on left and right, as if they had discovered a new toy. Gu Qingqing even reached out and pinched your baby fat cheeks, exclaiming loudly, "Oh, so soft. Great texture." You were like a frightened rabbit, wanting to dodge but not daring to. Your cheeks were bright red, but Bai Ningbing watched with furrowed brows, a nameless anger surging in her heart. You were originally her trouble, but now her friends were treating you like a pet, watching and teasing you. She walked down the stairs. She slammed the water glass heavily onto the coffee table, making a sharp sound. "Are you done playing?" Lu Rian and Gu Qingqing moved in unison. Lu Rian winked at Bai Ningbing ambiguously. "Bing Bing. Your little brother is so fun. Lend him to us for a couple of days." "Shut up." Bai Ningbing's face instantly turned icy cold. She pulled a bank card from her wallet and threw it at your feet. The card hit the ground with a crisp sound, making the living room fall silent instantly. "Take it." Bai Ningbing looked down at you with disdain in her eyes. "Buy some decent clothes. Don't walk around looking like this all day. I can't afford the shame." You looked down at the card on the floor, not moving. After a few seconds of silence, you looked up to meet her gaze. Your voice was soft but firm. "Thank you, Miss Bai, but I can't take it. I'll find my own way. I can get a job." Bai Ningbing was so angry she laughed. "Playing this sympathy act in front of me?" She hated this kind of demeanor most, seemingly weak but actually full of calculation. "Begging for sympathy? Put away your pitiful tricks. They make me sick." With that, she turned and went upstairs without looking back. She slammed the master bedroom door shut with a bang. But you acted as if nothing had happened, busying yourself in the kitchen at dinner time. Soon the rich aroma filled the entire villa: sweet and sour pork ribs, steamed sea bass, dry-fried green beans, and a pot of mushroom chicken soup. Gu Qingqing stared at the feast, almost drooling. "Xiao Chang. You are a god descended to earth." Lu Rian directly took out her phone and furiously photographed the dishes. Smiling, she said, "Xiao Chang, from now on, big sister's meals are your responsibility. Okay?" Bai Ningbing changed her clothes and came downstairs, seeing exactly this harmonious picture. Her two best friends were treating that boy she utterly loathed, calling him Xiao Chang affectionately, as if they were the real family, and you were lowering your head to ladle soup for them. Instantly, anger and an indescribable feeling of being excluded rushed to Bai Ningbing's head. "Bing Bing, come and eat. It's amazing." Gu Qingqing waved at her, but Bai Ningbing walked to the dining table with a cold face. Without sitting down, she took out her phone and said coldly, "I'm not hungry. I ordered takeout." Then she turned and went upstairs again. Half an hour later, the takeout arrived. A greasy fried rice and a bland seaweed soup. Bai Ningbing sat on the floor of her room, staring at the unpalatable takeout. After one bite, she couldn't swallow any more. Faintly from downstairs came Gu Qingqing and Lu Rian's exaggerated praise and laughter, like needles piercing her heart. Irritated, she pushed the takeout aside. She tried to open her computer to work, but couldn't read a single word, until late at night. A series of sharp cries reached her ears. Bai Ningbing lay in bed, and her mind uncontrollably began to picture. The sweet and soft white congee from that morning and the fragrant chicken soup from that evening were damn good. He sat up abruptly, struggled in the darkness for a few seconds, and finally surrendered to his stomach. There should be some lettuce downstairs. Barefoot, he crept like a thief. He silently opened the door and tiptoed downstairs. The living room was pitch black. Only moonlight spilled in from the floor-to-ceiling windows. He groped his way to the kitchen door from memory and reached for the refrigerator handle. The refrigerator door opened a crack, and soft light spilled out, illuminating a small area in front of it. It also illuminated a dark figure by the dining table. Bai Ningbing's heart skipped a beat as she froze. At that moment, you sat in the darkness. Meeting her eyes, in the faint and ambiguous light of the refrigerator door, the air instantly solidified. Bai Ningbing's face showed panic she couldn't hide. Her throat was dry, and her mind raced. Trying to regain the pride of being the homeowner, she forced calmness and said, "I came down to drink water." But her voice was weaker than usual. You didn't expose her. Your gaze lingered for a second on her hand pressing against her stomach. "Miss Bai, is your stomach uncomfortable?" Bai Ningbing's face instantly flushed red. She wanted to flee in shame, but the cramping pain in her stomach prevented her from moving. You didn't ask further. You silently stood up and walked to the kitchen. The sound of running water, followed by the loud click of the gas stove. A blue flame flickered in the darkness. Bai Ningbing stood frozen, not knowing whether to leave or stay. You, like an experienced chef, chopped green onions with crisp precision and cracked eggs gently and skillfully. In less than 10 minutes, a light yet assertive aroma of scallion oil mixed with the wheat scent of noodles filled the room. The fragrance seemed to have hooks, irritating Bai Ningbing's stomach further. You brought out a bowl of clear broth noodles. The broth was clear, the scallions emerald green, and in the center lay a golden sunny-side-up egg with a runny yolk. Simple yet tempting. Miss Bai, eating something will help. You said softly and consciously retreated into the shadows. Her pride, facing severe stomach pain and tempting food, was utterly defeated. She pulled out a chair, picked up the noodles, blew on them, and brought them to her mouth. The noodles were smooth and chewy, coated in fresh broth. A warm current instantly surged into her stomach. Smoothing out the sharp pain, she took another sip of soup. An ultimate umami exploded on her tongue. She didn't speak. Bite after bite, she quickly finished everything cleanly. Even the soup was finished. Her stomach finally felt warm, and she relaxed completely. Putting down the bowl and chopsticks, she finally truly looked at you. She saw you, thin and small, only 14 years old. Yet your cooking skills were better than a Michelin chef. Clearly a dependent burden, you could see through her embarrassment in the dead of night. Calmly cooking noodles to rescue her. As she was lost in thought, you walked over to clear the dishes. But you frowned. Wait a moment. When you returned from the storage room, you held a rough small ceramic jar. Unscrewing the lid, a cool herbal scent drifted out. Let me apply some ointment for you. No need, it's a minor issue. Bai Ningbing subconsciously wanted to refuse such unnecessary concern. You didn't listen to her. You scooped out some dark green ointment with clean fingers and reached for her hand. But Bai Ningbing recoiled as if electrocuted. She jerked her hand back. She hated any unnecessary physical contact with men. Your hand paused in midair. If not treated, you lowered your head and focused on applying the ointment for her. Bai Ningbing felt the stinging sensation instantly replaced by comfort. She looked at the shadow cast by your long eyelashes. Her heart skipped a beat in the silence. It's done, you said, withdrawing your hand. You capped the jar. The kitchen atmosphere finally relaxed. Where did you learn all this? Bai Ningbing pointed at the jar and voiced her curiosity. The orphanage director grandmother taught me, you answered softly. And cooking, she said. Learn more skills, and you won't starve out there. Hearing this, Bai Ningbing's heart tightened. Your parents? Never met them. You replied calmly. I was abandoned at the orphanage gate. The director grandmother found me. Later, when grandfather's business grew big, he found me and took me out. Without complaint or playing the victim, you calmly recounted a past that would make anyone break down in tears. You spoke lightly. Bai Ningbing looked at you. The deep-rooted disgust in her heart now quietly dissipated a little, replaced by complex emotions. This child is indeed pitiful. But still a huge trouble. She shook off the jumbled thoughts in her mind and stood up. It's late, go to sleep. She left those words and fled upstairs. One morning, Bai Ningbing woke up feeling exceptionally refreshed, her stomach comfortable, as if last night's pain had just been an illusion. He raised his hand again to look at the back of it. The originally red and swollen burn was now only a faint pink mark. That folk remedy ointment was surprisingly effective. He walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and habitually pulled open the curtain, but the next second he saw a screen. He widened his eyes in disbelief. You were standing in the yard, beside a large plastic basin. The basin was full of foam, and you were washing clothes. Draped over the edge of the basin was Bai Ningbing's silk shirt. What made Bai Ningbing freeze completely was that you were rubbing a piece of black lace-trimmed fabric in your hands. A rush of heat surged straight to Bai Ningbing's head. The subtle feelings he had for you last night. Those faintly complex thoughts, shattered completely. He was left with nothing but boundless shame and towering rage. Without a second thought, Bai Ningbing yanked open the door and rushed downstairs like a gust of wind. He banged open the back door and charged straight up to you. He Chong. His voice trembled violently with extreme anger and shame. What are you doing? You pervert. You were startled by his sudden arrival and outburst, still holding that piece of black lace fabric covered in foam, your whole body frozen in place as you stared at his burning red face. You opened your mouth blankly, at a loss. I saw clothes in the laundry basket and thought I'd wash them along. Who told you to touch them? Bai Ningbing snatched that mortifying piece of clothing from you and clenched it tightly in his palm, wishing he could crush it to pieces. Who allowed you to touch my things? You were stung by the disgust in his eyes. And you shrank back, lowering your head, your eyes suddenly dimmed. You had only wanted to do a little more, to make him dislike you less. It turned out that the more you did, the more wrong you were. What's all the shouting about so early in the morning? Gu Qingqing yawned. Walking out of the house with sleepy eyes, followed by Lu Ruyan, who had also been woken up. Bing bing, are you crazy? Gu Qingqing, seeing the scene in the yard, suddenly became alert. Xiao Chang was kind enough to help you wash clothes, why are you yelling at him? She walked over. Saw the basin of foam beside you and a few shirts hanging on the clothesline. Oh my god. You even washed my sports vest. Gu Qingqing exclaimed. Xiao Chang, you're way too nice. Lu Ruyan was already at the door, her gaze shifting between your aggrieved expression and Bai Ningbing's flushed face. A faint smile playing on her lips. Oh my. Our CEO Bai, why are you so furious so early in the morning? Her voice was sweet with a hint of teasing. Could it be, you're shy? Shut up. Bai Ningbing felt her cheeks burn even hotter. Her two close friends were playing off each other, and all her anger was like hitting cotton. She was left with nothing but awkwardness that had nowhere to go. She glared at you fiercely. Don't you ever touch my things again. With that, she grabbed the wet piece of clothing, turned, and fled back into the villa. Slap. The bathroom door slammed shut. At that moment, in Ikuan No. 2 middle school, you were sitting in a corner of the classroom. As quiet as a transparent person. But your face was too clean-cut, and annoyingly handsome and eye-catching. As soon as the bell rang, you took out your shabby pencil case, ready to do your homework. But then, a bottle of iced mineral water was actually placed at the corner of your desk. He Chong? A gentle female voice came. You looked up and saw Li Shiyu from your class smiling at you. I noticed you didn't bring a water cup. Here, this is for you. She pushed the water toward you. Take it. Consider it making a friend. Before you could refuse. She blushed and ran off. You stared at the water on the desk, but felt a wave of bewilderment. Yet you didn't notice that several pairs of malicious eyes from the back door of the classroom had already fixed on you. One gaze was especially dark. After school, just as you turned into an alley, several figures instantly blocked your path. Hey, new kid. The speaker was Du Ziding, who had been at the back door of the classroom during the day. The notorious school bully. He swaggered up with two lackeys. And slapped your face hard. Kid, pretty smooth, huh? You've already hooked Li Shiyu as soon as you arrived? You gripped your schoolbag strap and stepped back. I haven't, another lackey shoved you. Still talking tough. You enjoyed that water she gave you, didn't you? I don't want any trouble. You said in a low voice, thinking you didn't want to cause Bai Ningbing any problems. It's not about whether you want trouble or not. Du Ziding sneered, snatched your bag, and dumped everything on the ground. It's that I don't like you, got it? The rusty tin pencil case hit the ground with a harsh clatter, making your face turn pale. You looked up at Du Ziding. There was no trace of fear in his eyes, only a deep immersion. Her gaze made him feel unnerved. Bai Ningbing said, "What are you looking at?" and swung a punch at you. When you returned to the villa, it was already dark. You quietly slipped into the storage room and from that worn-out woven bag, pulled out a long-sleeved shirt washed to a faded white, perfectly covering the glaring bruises and scrapes on your arm. The aroma of food filled the entire villa. At the dining table, Gu Qingqing was holding her phone, drooling over the pictures Lu Ruyan had taken. Who cooked this meat? It's amazing. Xiao Chang is a culinary god. Bai Ningbing sat at the head of the table, expressionless. Only an occasional absent-minded look revealed she was still lost in thought about what happened that morning. You came out carrying the last dish of soup. You placed it on the table. Time to eat. Gu Qingqing immediately dropped her phone and grabbed her chopsticks, but Lu Ruyan didn't move. Her expressive eyes stared straight at you. Xiao Chang. Her lazy voice carried a hint of strangeness. Why have you been holding things with your left hand all day? Your body stiffened slightly. No, not really. You instinctively hid your hand behind your back, trying to cover it up. Is that so? Lu Ruyan smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. Let sis take a look. She stood up, walked around the table, and grabbed your right arm. You tried to dodge, but it was too late. Lu Ruyan's fingers pulled gently. And the loose long sleeve was instantly rolled up in her hand, revealing a glaring bruise of deep purple on your forearm. The surrounding scratches and blood marks were shocking. The laughter and chatter at the table came to an abrupt halt. Smack. Gu Qingqing's chopsticks fell onto the table. Holy crap, who did this? She jumped up, knocking over her chair with a loud crash. Her face instantly flushed with rage. Xiao Chang, tell me, who beat you like this? I'll go cripple them right now. The seductive smile on Lu Ruyan's face also vanished completely, her eyes darkening. She gently traced the bruise. And asked in a cold voice, "Were you bullied at school?" Under the stares of the three women. You panicked instantly, instinctively glancing at Bai Ningbing. Bai Ningbing hadn't said a word. Her gaze slowly moved from that glaring wound to your face. You saw her catch your evasive look. And the almost invisible, faint scratch on your cheek. Her brows furrowed deeply. The entire dining room fell into an eerie silence. "What's going on?" Bai Ningbing finally spoke, her voice low. And icy. It wasn't a question, but a demanding interrogation with immense pressure. You felt suffocated by the tension. Looking at Bai Ningbing's expressionless face, the image of her anger this morning flashed before your eyes. You couldn't cause her any more trouble. And nothing. You struggled to pull your arm back. "I fell down the stairs by accident." Gu Qingqing and Lu Rian looked at you as if you were an idiot. Bai Ningbing stared at you without a word. The room was so quiet it was creepy. Her stare made your scalp tingle. You could only lower your head even further. "Clumsy, falling and getting that messed up." Bai Ningbing spoke the words steadily, her gaze fixed on the tiny mark on your cheek. "Did you fall on your face too?" Oh no, she's about to find out. Your heart skipped a beat, and you instinctively tried to step back. Before you could figure out how to patch up the lie, Gu Qingqing exploded first. "Fell? Do you take me for an idiot?" She yanked you behind her, glaring at Bai Ningbing. Gu Qingqing pointed at your arm, practically furious. "Look at this arm, do stair railings grow fists? Can a fall cause such a huge bruise? This is obviously someone beating him." Lu Ruyan looked at your evasive eyes. Her voice still sweet but very direct. "Xiao Chong, lying isn't a good boy. Tell your sisters, who bullied you?" You looked at Bai Ningbing for help. But she only stared coldly at you, her face revealing no emotion. This indifference was more frightening than Gu Qingqing's rage. You could only steel yourself and repeat, "No, really, there's nothing. I just wasn't careful." Bai Ningbing said nothing. Seeing you like this, Gu Qingqing became even more furious, instantly turning her anger toward the woman at the head of the table. "Are you just going to watch? He lives in your house and eats your food. Even if he were a pet, you should protect him. Now he's been beaten like this. And all you say is clumsy?" Bai Ningbing's face sank immediately. She hated others telling her what to do. Her voice turned even colder. "He says himself he fell. Should I force his head down? And make him admit he was beaten? You." Gu Qingqing was so angry her chest heaved. "Is your heart made of stone?" Bai Ningbing ignored her. With a soft clink, she set down her chopsticks and bowl. Stood up, and with a blank expression walked up the stairs, leaving only a rigid back to the dining room. The master bedroom door on the second floor slammed shut with a bang. The door was slammed shut. Bai Ningbing leaned against it, her mind full of the sight of your arm. That glaring bruise, and your flustered yet stubborn face when you lied. Annoying. She paced the room restlessly. The feeling of being forced into responsibility prickled like a thorn, making her deeply uncomfortable. But that bruise on you lingered in her mind like a brand. She stopped, picked up her phone. Her fingertip glided across the screen, finally stopping on a contact labeled Uncle Zhang. She made the call. Her voice returned to its usual cold and decisive tone. "Uncle Zhang, Aixi number 2 high school, there's a new student named He Chong. Did something happen to him today?" A few words of explanation came through. Bai Ningbing listened quietly, her expression growing darker. Her voice suddenly dropped, carrying a hint of danger. "I don't care whose son he is. Nor what background the other party has. I'll tell you one thing, this person is now living in my house. Tomorrow, I don't want to hear about him accidentally falling at school anymore. How you handle it is your business. If you mess it up, you know the consequences." She hung up without giving him a chance to respond. The room fell silent. Bai Ningbing stared at her phone screen. That damn old man. Just how big a problem had he dumped on her? The next day, you nervously stepped onto campus. You just wanted to keep your head down and rush to class. But around the corner in the hallway, you ran into Du Ziding, the last person you wanted to see. And his 2 lackeys. Your heart jumped into your throat, and you instinctively tried to edge along the wall to avoid them. But unexpectedly, the moment Du Ziding saw you, his arrogant face instantly changed color. His expression looked like he'd seen a ghost, terrified and incredulous. He grabbed his companion and practically fled, darting into another hallway, not even daring to glance back at you. You stood there frozen. What was going on? You thought about it all the way. Finally, you chalked it up to Sister Xiaoqing's doing. Yesterday, she was the only one who stood up for you. She seemed so capable, she must have done something. That evening, you returned to the villa in much better spirits. Even the aroma of dinner was especially tempting. Gu Qingqing was chatting animatedly with Lu Ruyan. Just then, a golden, glossy chicken leg gently landed in her bowl. Gu Qingqing froze and turned to look at you. Your cheeks flushed. You murmured, "Thank you, Sister Qingqing." Gu Qingqing was even more confused. "Thank me for what?" You looked at her seriously. "For what happened at school. I heard about it. Thank you for helping me." Gu Qingqing was completely dumbfounded. Yesterday, she had been too angry to think, gone straight to her room, and fallen asleep. She hadn't done anything at all. But looking at your eyes, bright with gratitude, she instantly puffed out her chest, putting on a bold, casual air. "Hey, glad you know." She patted your shoulder proudly. "If anything else comes up, just tell your big sister. Come on. I'll take this chicken leg." With that, she bit into it with a clear conscience. But Bai Ningbing, seated at the head of the table, quietly watched the scene. Her chopsticks poked at the rice in her bowl. Watching you smile at Gu Qingqing with gratitude and reliance, an inexplicable sour feeling rose in her heart. That phone call was clearly made by her. "You idiot, you don't even know who to thank." She pressed her lips together, fiercely stabbed a mouthful of rice, and swallowed it in silence. After dinner, you had just finished washing the dishes when Bai Ningbing came downstairs, holding several luxury shopping bags. She tossed them casually, the rustling sound breaking the calm in the room. You poked your head out from the kitchen, wiping your hands. She gestured with her chin toward the sofa, her voice stiff. "Here, samples from a client. Wrong size. Waste to throw away." Even she found the excuse too flimsy. But Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan gathered around like they'd discovered new toys. "Wow, we can get new casual pants and a shirt," Gu Qingqing exclaimed. "Bing Bing, did you rob a store?" Lu Ruyan picked up the shirt, held it up against you, her eyes curving with a smile. "Xiao Chong. Go try it on. Let your sisters have a look." Without waiting for a reply, they shoved you straight into the bathroom. 2.5 minutes later, when you walked out, the living room went so quiet you could hear a pin drop. You changed into a crisp, tailored white shirt, paired with light khaki casual pants. The perfectly fitted clothes highlighted your youthful charm. Her clean aura was instantly accentuated to the extreme. Your naturally soft and cute face seemed to glow under the light. You were a perfect, naive little rich boy. "Wow, wow." Gu Qingqing exaggeratedly whistled. "Xiao Chong, if you walked out like this, how many girls would be chasing after you for your number?" Lu Ruyan's eyes sparkled. He quickly pulled out his phone and started a live stream. "Can't waste this face. Come here, Xiao Chong. Let's start a live stream called The Little Rich Boy's Private Kitchen. Guaranteed to go viral overnight." "No." A cold, stern voice directly interrupted Lu Ruyan's plan. Everyone looked at Bai Bingbing in unison. He crossed his arms, his face icy. "What's all this nonsense?" His gaze swept over Lu Ruyan, then landed on you, who looked a bit lost. "He still has to study." His tone was absolute, carrying a strong protectiveness he didn't even realize. The living room atmosphere suddenly turned tense. Just then, Bai Bingbing's phone rang at an inconvenient time. After seeing the caller ID, his frown deepened. It was the old mansion. Bai Bingbing walked to the balcony, his voice cold but respectful. After a few words on the other end, his face instantly darkened. "What family dinner? I don't have time." But the voice on the phone said something else, and his expression turned extremely unpleasant. His gaze passed through the glass door, landing on you, who looked completely transformed in the living room. "I have to bring him." His voice was very low, but the irritation and resistance were impossible to hide. "Fine." He hung up, gripping his phone so hard his fingers turned white. The weekend family gathering, and he had to bring you along. This was a predictable disaster. Now you sat quietly in the passenger seat, your brand new white shirt making you look like an innocent young master. The street scenes outside flashed by rapidly. Your profile was clean and soft. But beside you, Bai Bingbing's fingers were clenched tightly on the steering wheel. He hated this feeling. He felt like he was attracting trouble. He finally spoke, his voice still icy cold. "When we get there, keep your mouth shut. Just eat and don't cause me any trouble." You turned your head at the sound, your gaze clear. "Got it, Miss Bai." Your obedience didn't improve his mood, instead, it only made him more irritated. The Bai family's old mansion was brightly lit. When Bai Bingbing entered the banquet hall holding your arm, all eyes instantly focused. Whispers broke out around you. "Who's that guy next to Bingbing? He looks unfamiliar." "He's that he family kid, the one with the arranged marriage grandpa set before he died." "Shoo. Keep your voice down." Look at Bingbing's face. Probing and amused gazes fell on you. Your body instinctively straightened, and a slight tremor transmitted from your hand. Bingbing felt it. Without looking sideways, he headed straight to a corner buffet table. Took a champagne glass from the waiter's tray, and coldly dropped 2 words, "Eat something." Then he walked away without looking back, blending into the hypocritical socializing. You stood there alone, staring at the sumptuous food but having no appetite. The crowd was bustling, but you were out of place. "Cousin, you're finally here." A sweet voice rang out, deliberately affectionate. It was Yancha, the daughter of Bingbing's second uncle. She walked over holding a red wine glass. Her gaze scanned like radar, sweeping over Bingbing before finally sticking to you. She dragged out her words, her face full of sarcastic smiles. "So this is the fiancé Grandpa talked about?" Bingbing glanced at her, saying nothing. Yancha didn't care. She circled in front of you, pretending to look you up and down with curiosity. "He looks pretty clean, but seems way too young. Are you even 18 yet?" You pressed your lips together and instinctively took a small step back. Oh dear. Suddenly Yancha's foot slipped, and her body lurched violently. Before you could react, the wine glass in her hand tilted. The liquid red wine line, without bias, splashed onto your pure white shirt. A large, glaring red stain across your chest was shocking. You froze completely. "Why are you walking like that?" Yancha's sharp scream pierced the banquet hall's noise, instantly drawing everyone's attention. She pointed at a nearly invisible wine stain on her skirt, her face full of anger, shouting loudly, "Are you blind? This is a custom haute couture dress. I just had air freighted from France. Can you afford to ruin it? What's wrong with this kid? Clumsy and careless, clearly never seen the world, can't even walk properly. Bingbing, where did you find this person? So ill-mannered." The relatives immediately gathered around, and you instantly became the target of everyone's criticism. Yancha, a witness, chimed in, making things even worse. She directly pointed at your nose and commanded, "Apologize." "What good is just an apology? Kneel down and apologize." These were her relatives, so you slowly unclenched your fists. You stepped forward, lowered your head to Yancha, and said, "I'm sorry. It was my fault." Your voice was too soft, almost drowned out by the surrounding laughter. As you spoke, you bent down to pick up the purple scripture from the ground. "That's more like it. A country bumpkin should act like one. Hurry up and kneel. What are you dawdling for? Yancha, don't bother with someone like this. It's an eyesore." The laughter grew louder, trampling your last shred of dignity. Your body trembled slightly. Your knee slowly began to bend, when a hand grabbed your arm and pulled you back a step. You stumbled to steady yourself, looked up in shock, and saw Bingbing, who had somehow already walked in front of you. His tall figure was like an insurmountable barrier, instantly blocking all the malice and mockery aimed at you. All the laughter in the banquet hall came to an abrupt halt. Bingbing didn't look at anyone, just slowly raised his hand and poured every last drop of champagne from his glass over Yancha's head. The golden liquid slowly trickled down Yancha's curly hair. All the laughter stopped. Bingbing didn't look at anyone. He just slowly raised his hand and poured every last drop of champagne from his glass over Yancha's head. The golden liquid slowly flowed down Yancha's curly hair, over his shocked, rigid face, instantly soaking his expensive suit. Yancha let out a piercing scream. The entire hall fell silent. Everyone was stunned by the sudden scene. Bingbing casually placed the glass onto the waiter's tray with a crisp clink. His gaze coldly swept over everyone present, finally landing on the face of Yancha, who was drenched and disheveled. He finally spoke, each word crystal clear. "My fiancé, who do you think you are to teach him a lesson?" Bingbing's uncle, Shoshin, strode over with a dark expression, suppressing his anger and speaking in a low voice. "Yanbing, what are you doing?" But Yanbing didn't even glance at him. His gaze, sharp as a knife, was fixed firmly on Yancha's shocked and twisted face. "Word by word," he said, "apologize." Yancha immediately shrieked. "For what? Yanbing, are you crazy? He got my dress dirty." Yanbing's voice turned even colder. "I'll say it one more time. Apologize to him." Yancha, unnerved by his stare, instinctively hid behind her father. "Dad, look at him." Shoshin met Yanbing's gaze, and his heart sank. He knew his niece's methods better than anyone. She had inherited all the old man's decisiveness and ruthlessness. If he didn't settle this today, she would never let it go. Bai Shouxin took a breath, pushed his daughter behind him, and said in a low voice. Apologize to your brother-in-law, Dad. Bai Yanxia couldn't believe it. Apologize? Bai Shouxin's tone hardened. Bai Yanxia's nails nearly dug into her flesh. She glared at you as if she wanted to devour you. Finally, she squeezed out 3 words through gritted teeth. I'm sorry. Bai Yanbing didn't even spare her an extra glance. He grabbed your wrist and turned to leave. The crisp, sharp sound of high heels struck everyone's face like a slap. He dragged you through the stunned crowd, leaving the banquet hall without looking back. The car sped through the night. The silence inside the car was terrifying. You lowered your head, staring at the glaring wine stain on your chest. Not daring to breathe. It's over. You've completely ruined his family banquet. He must be furious. The oppressive atmosphere threatened to suffocate you. You clutched the hem of your clothes. Finally mustering up the courage to speak in a trembling voice. I'm sorry. Miss Bai. I embarrassed you. Screech, the sharp sound of brakes cut through the night. The immense inertia sent you lurching forward, only to be yanked back by the seatbelt. Still shaken, you looked over. Under the streetlight, Bai Yanbing's fingers gripped the steering wheel. He spoke hoarsely. Do you think this is your fault? You froze, not knowing how to answer. Seeing your confused and aggrieved expression, the anger in his eyes slowly faded, replaced by a strange emotion. The next second, he actually raised his hand. The movement was somewhat stiff, pausing in midair for a moment, then gently landing on your head. His palm was very cold, with a barely perceptible tremble. He messily ruffled your hair. He said softly, it's not your fault. These words made your whole body stiffen. You caught the faint cold fragrance on him, felt the clumsy chill of his palm, and your eyes instantly grew hot. Returning to the villa late at night, Bai Ningbing kicked off her high heels and headed straight for the medicine cabinet, rummaging for something. You followed behind her like a child who had done something wrong, cautious and careful. Just then, without even looking up, she commanded, come here. You walked over. Bai Ningbing pulled a bottle of safflower oil from the medicine cabinet and twisted off the cap. A pungent smell instantly spread. She grabbed your wrist, the spot where she had forcefully pulled you earlier. Around your wrist was a red mark. She poured the oil and roughly rubbed it into your skin. Pressing hard, you gasped in pain on the spot. Bear it, she said coldly, but her hand unconsciously softened its force. You lowered your head, watching her focused profile. Those eyes, always frozen over, now actually showed a hint of seriousness. The stinging on your wrist didn't seem so unbearable anymore. With a click, the villa door suddenly swung open. Holy crap! I'm dead tired, Gu Qingqing shouted as she barged in. She and Lu Ruyan entered, and saw in the living room that strange yet warm scene. Bai Ningbing was half kneeling in front of you, head down, applying medicine, while you sat obediently, letting her do as she pleased. Gu Qingqing's mouth instantly formed an O. Lu Ruyan leaned against the doorframe, watching with interest, a mocking smile on her face. Oh, Gu Qingqing finally found her voice. Is the sun rising from the west? Our aloof and cold president Bai is personally applying medicine for someone. She even leaned in with an exaggerated laugh. What do I smell? Is it the sour stench of love? Pfft. Bai Ningbing suddenly let go and slammed the bottle heavily onto the coffee table. Shut up. Her cheeks visibly flushed a light red, quickly spreading to her ears. But Lu Ruyan smiled sweetly and added, Bing Bing, you're blushing. Xiao Chang, looks like I don't have to worry about you being bullied anymore, with our president Bai protecting you. Get lost, Bai Ningbing snapped, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She shot up abruptly. After throwing out those words, she fled upstairs as if escaping. The master bedroom door slammed shut. She leaned against the cold door panel, feeling her heart race so fast it might leap out of her throat. Her cheeks burned, and her mind was full of Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan's teasing laughter, as well as your clean, slightly bewildered eyes. She raised her hand and touched her face. Crazy, she must be crazy. She actually thought that you, this troublesome person, were a little cute. At that moment, you were still standing downstairs, staring blankly in the direction Bai Ningbing had disappeared. Gu Qingqing came over and slung an arm around your shoulder. Not bad, Xiao Chang. Melting our big iceberg so fast. Your face instantly turned bright red. Not knowing what to say, you quickly returned to your storage room and slammed the door shut. But in that cramped space, the pungent smell on your wrist mixed with his cold fragrance. became even clearer. You opened your backpack and took out your homework notebook. A folded slip of paper slipped out from between the pages of the book, but you only glanced at it. Then refold the paper and tucked it into the innermost compartment of your backpack. It was the parent-teacher conference notice from this afternoon's homeroom teacher. In your mind, the scene from last night's family dinner surfaced. Binding Bean had cut ties with all her relatives and friends. You absolutely could not cause her any more trouble. The next morning, as you left, Gu Qingqing was humming a song, sweating profusely on the treadmill. Lu Ruyan, with a face mask on, was lounging on the sofa scrolling through her phone. Binding Bean had already gone out. No one mentioned the parent-teacher conference. And you would never bring it up. The campus was full of parents and students picking up their kids. Li Siyu's mother, a stomachache, followed by her father. Only you stood alone, walking on the edge of the crowd like an outsider. You quietly moved to a seat in the corner. Teacher Wang's gaze swept past the empty shadow beside you. The whispers of the surrounding parents pierced your back like needles. Just then, Teacher Wang changed the subject, her voice suddenly rising. But there are also a small number of students who behave carelessly. Discipline is weak. What does that mean? His gaze is like a sharp sword, locking onto you straight. It shows a problem with family education. Some parents just give birth, but don't teach. They throw their kids into school and wash their hands of it. Now all the parents in the class are focused on you. A sound instantly explodes, making you the center of attention and a laughingstock. Your cheeks burn instantly. You can only lower your head further, fingers tightly gripping the seams of your school uniform pants, wishing you could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. But just then, a gruff voice pushes the humiliation in the classroom to its peak. Teacher Wang, you've hit the nail on the head. The one speaking is the father of the kid with a stomachache, the one wearing a thick gold chain. He leans back in his chair, his legs spread wide open, and he points a chin in your direction. My son has complained. That new kid in the class is dressed in rags, clearly not from a good family, always gloomy. He'll corrupt the class atmosphere. His voice is loud and grating, as if afraid others won't hear. Our Dizatong is aiming for a top school. If he gets corrupted by this, can you take responsibility? As soon as he speaks, it's like lighting a powder keg. Other parents immediately chime in. Exactly, Teacher Wang. The learning environment is very important. How can a student of unknown origin be in the same class as our children? That's right. I suggest transferring him to the regular class. Voices of condemnation rise and fall, pummeling you from all sides. You feel it's hard to breathe. You clearly promised Gu Qingqing you'd tell him if something came up, but you still hid that notice. You don't want to trouble anyone anymore. Especially Binding Bean. You absolutely cannot let him face any more pointing fingers because of you. For this reason, you tightly dig your nails into your palm, using the pain to stay conscious. Teacher Wang pushes up his glasses. His gaze pierces you like a sharp arrow. He carries a condescending judgment. His voice cuts through all the noise. He Chong, stand up. Your body freezes instantly. Dozens of eyes in the entire class are all fixed on you. You use all your strength to slowly stand up from your seat. Tell everyone. Teacher Wang's voice carries undisguised mockery. Why didn't your parents come? Are they too busy to make it? Your lips move. Your throat is too dry to make a sound. You can't say it, can't say you have no parents. Even more, you can't say the homeowner you're staying with doesn't even know about this parent-teacher meeting. That would only make them a laughingstock in others' mouths. You raise your head, meeting Teacher Wang's cold eyes. Your voice is faint. They're very busy. This answer instantly draws a wave of suppressed laughter. Teacher Wang also laughs. The laughter is sharp and harsh. Busy? I think they don't dare to come. A family that can't even attend a parent-teacher meeting, what kind of child can they raise? What future can they have? As soon as the words fall, voices of agreement rise. Yeah, if they don't dare to come, then don't study in the advanced class. Get out. Insults and ridicule drown you. Your vision goes dark. Your fists are clenched so tight your nails dig into the flesh. Just as you're about to collapse, a loud bang echoes. The back door of the classroom is kicked open. It slams heavily against the wall. The entire classroom falls into dead silence. All the laughter and chatter stop abruptly. Everyone stares in shock at the doorway. From the entrance comes the crisp, rhythmic sound of high heels, carrying an imposing presence. Click, click, click. Each step strikes the hearts of the crowd. A tall figure suddenly appears. She wears a sharp, tailored black suit. Her long hair is tied up high. Her face is expressionless. She radiates a chilling aura that keeps everyone at a distance. It's Bean. Her gaze sweeps across the room, finally landing precisely on the teacher's face at the podium. A cold voice rings out through the classroom. Who said I didn't dare to come? Bean's voice isn't loud, but it instantly suppresses the noise in the room. The whole world falls silent. Holy crap. Bing, wait for me. A breathless voice breaks the silence. Gu Qingqing, in tight sportswear, holds onto the doorframe, gasping for air. The stark contrast with Bean, but no one dares to glance away. The mockery on Teacher Wang's face at the podium freezes completely. He watches Bean step closer. A sense of foreboding rises in his heart. Bean doesn't even look at him. Her gaze passes through the crowd, falls directly on you in the corner. She walks toward you as if no one else is there. You feel like you can barely breathe. Keeping his head low, he didn't dare look at you, afraid to see the disappointment and disgust in your eyes. He'd caused you trouble again. But then a cool hand suddenly reached out, not to hit or push you, but to gently straighten your skewed collar. The gesture made you freeze. You lifted your head sharply, your gaze colliding straight into Bing's eyes. His eyes were still icy, but something seemed different deep within. Bai, President Bai. A stammering, trembling, terrified voice finally broke the eerie silence. It was class teacher Wang. He recognized Bing, the young, wealthy, and famous female entrepreneur in the business world. Executive president of the Bai Group, whose photo had graced the cover of a financial magazine just last month. Teacher Wang's face instantly drained of all color, pale as paper, his voice shaking. Why are you here? Is this some kind of misunderstanding? The surrounding parents also erupted. President Bai? Which President Bai? Who else could it be? That demoness from the Bai Group? Oh my god, what is she doing here? Could this child be? The murmuring started again, but this time, it was filled with awe and fear. Yet Bing acted as if she hadn't heard, not even bothering to glance at teacher Wang. The next second, her gaze passed over everyone and landed directly on the man wearing the thick gold chain. She spoke slowly, her voice low. But the oppressive force instantly maxed out. Who was it just now that said he wanted to transfer him to another class? Du Zitong's father froze on the spot. His arrogance vanished in an instant, cold sweat pouring down. Panicking, he waved his hands repeatedly. I didn't. No, I didn't. A crisp female voice suddenly cut in. Gu Qingqing had somehow moved to the front. She waved her phone. A smirk of amusement on her face. Oh, Teacher Wang. Mr. Du, you were talking so loudly just now. I heard every word clearly from the doorway. With that, she pressed play. The next moment, those harsh, venomous words echoed through the entire classroom. Dressed in rags, clearly from a bad family. He'll corrupt the class atmosphere. A family that can't even be bothered to attend a parent-teacher meeting. What kind of child could they raise? Get out. The recording finished. The room was so silent you could hear a pin drop. Teacher Wang trembled like a leaf, while Du Zitong's father's face had turned the color of pig liver. Bing smiled. It was a faint smile, but it sent chills down everyone's spine. She fixed her gaze on the tottering teacher Wang at the podium. Her voice cold. A teacher, this is how you educate? By guessing randomly. You dare to judge a child's future? The reputation of number 3 high school is ruined by people like you. Her eyes shifted to Du Zitong's father. And you? Your son gangs up at school and bullies his classmates. And this is the fine upbringing you're so proud of? Bing swept her gaze across the room, looking at the parents who had instantly fallen silent. Her voice turned icy. Your children are precious, can't be touched, can't be criticized. So my person is just a stone on the roadside. To be trampled and cursed by you all? The words my person hit you like a hammer. Bing withdrew her gaze and pulled out her phone. Without even looking, she dialed a number. The moment the call connected, Teacher Wang's legs gave way, and he collapsed into his chair. Bing spoke calmly. Principal Zhang? It's me, Bing. Her voice was utterly flat, but every word carried immense weight. Starting tomorrow, I don't want to see Wang Ting at number 3 high school. And regarding the school bullying, I need an explanation. Otherwise, at the end of year board meeting, we'll have a slow talk. With that, she hung up, no wasted words. The classroom was dead silent, but Bing didn't even look at those ashen-faced people. She turned back to you, and that icy expression, as it met your gaze, actually softened. She said just one word, come. She held out her hand to you, this time not grabbing your wrist, but opening her palm, waiting silently. You stared blankly at that hand. You hesitated for only a second before placing your trembling hand in hers. Her palm was cool and soft. Bai Ningbing led you like that, turning and walking toward the door. Wherever she passed, the crowd automatically stepped back until the heavy door was closed, shutting off all panic. Gu Qingqing followed behind, and as she passed the room where the stomachache was, she even made a funny face at them. She gave a triumphant snort. The sunlight in the hallway was warm, and an overwhelming sense of safety instantly crashed through your tense nerves. You looked at his tall back, at the way your hands were clasped together, and your eyes reddened without warning. A single scalding tear fell and hit the floor. But then, Bai Ningbing's step suddenly stopped. He turned around. Meeting your reddened eyes, your stubborn expression of wanting to cry but holding it in, a very faint sigh escaped from his lips. That sigh carried helplessness, irritability, and even a trace of something he himself didn't realize, concern. The next second, he actually bent down slightly in the hallway, leveling his gaze with yours. He raised his other hand and, with his fingertips, clumsily wiped away the moisture at the corners of your eyes. Alright, his voice was still a bit stiff. It's no big deal. But as he looked at your eyes, misted with water vapor, his voice unconsciously softened. From now on, if you're wronged outside, just use my name. He stared into your eyes, saying each word deliberately. Remember, you are Bai Ningbing's younger brother. It's not shameful. In the car, you gripped the seatbelt tightly and finally mustered the courage to say, "Sorry, I caused you trouble again." However, Bai Ningbing stared straight ahead, his fingers tightening on the steering wheel. "Shut up. I'm not doing this for you. I'm just protecting the Bai family's face." Those words instantly sank your heart to the bottom. You lowered your head and said nothing. So that was it. But then, the car speed quietly slowed down. At the next intersection, he didn't head home. Instead, he turned toward the city center and finally stopped in front of a French restaurant you had never dared to imagine. "Get out." Bai Ningbing tossed out 2 words and walked straight in, wearing high heels. You followed, feeling a bit lost. Your school uniform looked so out of place here. You sat stiffly across from him, unsure where to put your hands, until the waiter brought the steak. You picked up the knife and fork, imitating him, but made a screeching noise. Clumsy. Bai Ningbing finally couldn't help frowning. Yet he put down his own utensils, walked around the table, and came to your side. "Give me your hand." You reached out blankly, and the next second, his cool, delicate fingers grasped yours, pressing the knife and fork into your palm. The moment your fingertips touched, you jerked your hand back. You noticed his expression was also a bit unnatural. He quickly returned to his seat. "Learn by yourself," he tossed out, then sat down, picking up his water glass to drink, masking his racing heart. Your cheeks burned. You lowered your head, clumsily cutting the steak. Just then, a flippant male voice suddenly rang out nearby. "Oh, isn't this President Bai?" A man in a floral shirt walked over, wine glass in hand, with a malicious grin. He was Bai Ningbing's business rival, Muyang. His eyes roamed over you, undisguised contempt. "President Bai's taste is really unique lately, liking ones who still need milk." Hearing this, your hand holding the knife and fork tightened. You thought Bai Ningbing would explode and fight back, but instead he smiled. He reached out and, with perfect naturalness, adjusted your collar for you. Then he looked up at Muyang, as if showing off a treasure. "Brother Mu, watch your words. This is my kid. I'm bringing him out to see the world. Is there a problem?" Muyang's smile froze on his face. He had prepared a bellyful of sarcasm, but the words "my kid" left him speechless. Like punching cotton. In the end, his face red and neck thick, he choked out, "President by his good taste," and slunk away. Bai Ningbing turned back, only to find you staring at him blankly. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly. "What are you looking at? Eat up." You ate this meal absent-mindedly. The phrase "my kid" sent ripples spreading through your heart. It was almost 10 when you got back to the villa. Gu Qingqing and Lu Rian rushed out with dishes. "Tada! Victory feast." Gu Qingqing proudly placed a plate of boiled beef slices on the dining table, celebrating our Xiaoqiang holding his head high at school. Lu Rian also sat down, her sweet and sour spare ribs with a smile, and celebrating our President Bai's rescue of the beauty. After the two spoke, they sensed something off in the atmosphere. Gu Qingqing sniffed and looked at you suspiciously. You two smell like black pepper." Lu Rian grinned slyly. "Oh, looks like our celebration was for nothing. Someone already snuck out for a date." That remark made Bai Ningbing's face burn with embarrassment. Full of food and nothing better to do? Go do 200 squats upstairs, she snapped. She rushed upstairs and slammed the door shut with a bang. In the living room, you looked at the table full of dishes, feeling guilty, but Gu Qingqing grandly waved her hand and put her arm around your shoulder. She's not eating, we are. Come on. Come keep your sister company for another meal. Upstairs, Binding Bean stood in the dark hallway. Through the gaps in the railing, she looked down and saw Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan surrounding you, one picking up a rib, the other ladling soup. After you finished eating, you silently gathered the bowls and walked into the kitchen. Finally, you bowed to the two sisters. Then turned and walked into the cramped storage room under the stairs. The door closed softly. This scene made Binding Bean's brow instantly furrow. At school, she said, he's my man, Binding Beans. In the restaurant, she said, this is my kid, but her kid was living in a storage room piled with junk, without even a bed. Thinking about it, she felt a surge of irritation. If word got out, it would only disgrace her, Binding Bean. In the dead of night, the villa was silent. Suddenly, Binding Bean walked out of her own room. You were just about to sleep when a knock came at the storage room door. Sleepy-eyed, you opened it. Binding Bean stood outside. She didn't look at you, her gaze passed over your shoulder, looking into the narrow, dark space behind you. Then, in a cold voice, she spoke, from tomorrow, move into the bedroom on the second floor. Hearing this, you froze on the spot, thinking you had misheard. Before you could react, she added coldly, I don't want anyone outside. Saying I'm mistreating you. With that, she turned and left, her back resolute, leaving you standing there, mind blank, holding that cold set of keys. You carried that worn-out woven bag and walked up the stairs once forbidden to you. You found the secondary bedroom she mentioned, right next to her master bedroom. You inserted the key into the lock, and the door opened. A wave of air, carrying the scent of sunlight, rushed toward you. A soft, large bed, floor-to-ceiling windows covering the entire wall. This was a completely different world from that dark storage room of yours. You set down the woven bag. Slowly walked in, your fingers gently brushing over the soft bedsheets. You understood. All of this was just for her reputation. But deep in your heart, a warmth uncontrollably surged. Just then, the door was suddenly pushed open. Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan barged in noisily. New home celebration, Xiao Chong. Let me see. Wow, Bing Bing really is generous. This room has the best view. Lu Ruyan's gaze then landed on the newly bought clothes. She pulled a shirt from the shopping bag and held it up against you. TSK. Our Bing Bing's taste is really conservative. She shook her head and tossed the shirt back into the bag. Xiao Chong, come here. Let your sister teach you how a boy should dress to make girls scream. That's right, that's right. Gu Qingqing also got excited. She pulled out that pair of light khaki pants. These pants are nice. Pair them with a slightly flashy t-shirt, and throw on a baseball cap. Perfect. They treated you like a dress-up doll, throwing new clothes onto you one after another. Your face turned bright red. You wanted to dodge but didn't dare. Lu Ruyan even pressed down on your shoulder, leaned in close, and said in a sickly sweet voice, let your sister have a good look. These collarbones, what a shame to hide them. As she spoke, she reached out to undo the first button of your shirt. What are you doing? An icy, piercing voice came from the doorway. The three of them froze instantly. Binding Bean stood there with her arms crossed, her face as dark as could be. Her gaze swept over the mess of clothes. Finally, it locked onto Lu Ruyan's hand, which had stopped on your chest. An inexplicable rage rushed to her head. Bing Bing, why are you so angry? We're just helping Xiao Chong develop his fashion sense. Gu Qingqing tried to smooth things over with a grin. They don't need your lessons. Binding Bean's voice was freezing. Lu Ruyan looked at her possessive attitude and gave a suggestive wink. Got it, got it. We won't touch your precious thing. Get out. Binding Bean ground out the words through her teeth. After the two left, the room fell silent instantly. You stood there awkwardly. Binding Bean walked in, silent, bent down, and began folding the clothes that had been thrown on the bed. One by one, she neatly refolded them. Then, without looking back, she dropped a line, lock the door from now on. Late at night, Binding Bean lay in bed tossing and turning, her mind filled with everything from the day and that inexplicable sense of possessiveness from earlier. Just then, a faint, clean herbal scent wafted in through the crack in the door. It was the smell of the ointment you had used to treat her burn. Binding Bean's heart skipped a beat. The guy next door. What is he doing this late? She threw off the covers and silently padded to her door on bare feet. But instead of knocking on your door, she turned and went downstairs, using thirst as an excuse. Yet the moment she reached the first floor, she froze. A dim yellow light was on in the kitchen. You stood with your back to her, busy at the stove. Just then, she gave a soft cough. Startled, you quickly turned around. Bye. Miss Bye. A flicker of panic flashed in your eyes. Why are you down here? I'm thirsty. Bai Ningbing walked over with a composed expression. But her gaze drifted to the small pot in front of you, bubbling away alone. Bai Ningbing didn't answer. Taking it as tacit consent, you immediately served 2 bowls and handed one to her. She took the warm porcelain bowl, lifted a spoonful, the sweetness of fermented rice. The fragrance of osmanthus, the soft stickiness of glutinous rice, instantly soothing her irritated stomach. She ate spoonful after spoonful, finishing the entire bowl quickly. When you looked at her again, you noticed a faint smile on her face. Miss Bai, don't move. You suddenly spoke. Hearing this, Bai Ningbing furrowed her brows instinctively and stared at you. But the next second, Bai Ningbing's eyes widened in shock as she watched you reach out your hand, gently wiping the sugar stain from the corner of her mouth with your warm fingertip. The air froze. This normally aloof female CEO actually forgot to dodge, letting you wipe away that tiny, insignificant sugar stain. The touch of your fingertip made her breath catch. You withdrew your hand, like an obedient little brother, and shook the sugar stain on your fingertip in front of her. Your smile was utterly innocent, but Bai Ningbing's cheeks flushed bright red. She didn't even dare to look at you again. She dropped the bowl and rushed up the stairs, slamming her door shut with a bang, leaving behind only the flustered figure leaning against the door panel, breathing heavily. The kitchen fell silent. You watched the direction of her panicked escape. The timidity in your eyes slowly faded, replaced by a calm smile. As if possessed, you raised the finger that had touched her lips, brought it to your mouth, and licked it lightly. Very sweet. You lifted your head, your gaze once again fixed on the second floor. Under the moonlight, on your face, which always bore a hint of timidity and obedience, a completely different smile appeared. The next morning, during breakfast, Gu Qingqing's mouth was completely out of control. She kept saying she was on a diet, but her hand honestly stuffed a shrimp dumpling into her mouth. So good. Screw the diet. Little Chong. Sister loves you. Then Lu Ruyan, with a face mask on, leaned lazily at the stairway, her voice laced with a seductive, just woke up tone. Little brother. Aren't you deep? Trying to turn us sisters into pigs who can't leave you? Hearing this, your cheeks flushed. You had just placed the last bowl of century egg and lean pork congee on the table, when the familiar sound of footsteps came from the stairs. Set it in front of her. Just then, Lu Ruyan suddenly patted the empty seat beside her, her voice syrupy sweet. And her gaze was practically dripping with allure. Little Chong, come. Sit by sister. Sister will feed you some red dates, okay? Your face instantly turned bright red. Gu Qingqing beside her, always one to relish drama, shouted that you were about to be carried off by a vixen. Bai Ningbing's hand gripping the spoon tightened abruptly. She lifted her eyes and coldly swept her gaze over the beaming, flamboyant Lu Ruyan. Then her gaze locked onto you, and she gave a firm nod toward the seat next to her. Sit here. Before she finished speaking, Bai Ningbing had already ignored everyone else. Expressionless, she picked up a crystal-clear shrimp dumpling with her chopsticks and placed it directly into your bowl. Eat your food. Her tone was cold and harsh, as if scolding a disobedient little dog, but her actions carried such blatant protectiveness that even a blind person could see it. You lowered your head and silently ate your rice, feeling the tips of your ears burning hot. It wasn't until the car horn sounded outside the villa that you felt like you were granted amnesty. I'm off to school. You had just slung your backpack over your shoulder, ready to escape, when Gu Qingqing shoved a yogurt into your hand, for protein. Then Lu Ruyan also came over. Hands you a tissue, eyes locking, remember to wipe your mouth. To ride a clean school bus, your figure quickly disappears onto it. What you don't know is that the moment your figure vanishes on the school bus, a chill begins to rise in Bai Ningbing's eyes. She stares at the direction the school bus left, her mind filled with all those chattering schoolgirls. The next second, she directly dials a number. Check Ikuan number 2 high school. See if any shady girls are harassing her. After Bai Ningbing hangs up, her eyes are full of a possessive warning to stay away. At school, the moment you step into the classroom, something feels off. The students around you look at you with a mix of awe and curiosity, but before you can even sit down, a tall figure looms over you. You tense up instantly, muscles tightening. Expecting another beating, but to your surprise, the school bully looks awful, like she's been constipated for 3 days straight. After holding it in for a long time, she pulls a pink envelope from her pocket and slams it onto your desk. Then she walks away without looking back. The whole class gasps. You stare at that cheap perfume scented envelope, confused. Opening it, you look. Hello, classmate Hee Chong, I am Lee Shiyu. It's actually a love letter. But before you can finish reading, the class bell rings, so you have to put the letter away. The whole day you sit on pins and needles. Behind you, Lee Shiyu's burning gaze practically scorches your back. Finally enduring until school ends, you just want to escape quickly, but on the quiet path near the school gate, a group of street girls completely blocks you. The leading girl wears smoky eye makeup, her fierce eyes scanning you up and down. You're Hee Chong? You step back instinctively, but before you can speak, they surround you. You're the one who made Shiyu cry, aren't you? Look decent enough. But you're actually a jerk. Apologize or you're not leaving. You're forced back until your back hits the cold wall. For the first time, you realize how much scarier girls can be than the school bully. Just as you try to explain, the girl's hand yanks your collar harshly. In that nick of time, a sleek, almost excessively elegant black Maybach glides silently to the curb. Then the dark rear window rolls down slowly, revealing Bai Ningbing's flawless yet icy face. She doesn't look at you. That gaze, cold enough to freeze the air, locks precisely onto the smoky-eyed street girl. The car's dim interior hides her expression, but you hear that bone-chilling voice explode in the sudden silence. Do you want to keep your hands? The Maybach, like a silent black giant hand, instantly swallows the corner's shadow. A chill shoots from your soles to your scalp. The street girls stand there trembling, faces full of lingering fear. Inside the car, Bai Ningbing's gaze turns to you, and she speaks again, get in. Hearing this, you feel as if pardoned. Almost scrambling, you open the door and climb inside. The car is suffocatingly quiet. You lower your head, hands gripping your knees tightly, not even daring to breathe, afraid to look at Bai Ningbing beside you. You can clearly feel the low pressure radiating from her, more terrifying than ever before. Just then, with a soft thud, that pink envelope falls perfectly from your faded school uniform pocket onto the floor mat. In that instant, your body goes completely stiff. It feels like your blood is freezing. Bai Ningbing's gaze sweeps over, and the temperature inside the car instantly drops from freezing to absolute zero. Staring at that glaring pink envelope, she suddenly smiles, her voice dripping with undisguised mockery. You've grown capable. As soon as someone protects you, you learn to flirt and attract attention. Is this how you repay our family's kindness? A huff, and your face turns deathly pale. You frantically bend down, grabbing the envelope like a burning bomb. No, Miss Bai, your voice trembles as you desperately explain. It was forced on me by someone else. I didn't. Forced on you? Bai Ningbing's brow lifts slightly, those stunning eyes filled with suspicion. How come I see you treasuring it, carrying it all the way? I didn't. You're so anxious your eyes redden, on the verge of tears, looking at the envelope in your hand. Then at Bai Ningbing's frozen face, panic completely takes over your mind. The next second, you suddenly use all your strength, Ryup. That pink envelope is torn to shreds instantly. In a blink, the love letter carrying a girl's secret feelings turns into a pile of unreconstructible paper scraps in your hand. You clutch those fragments tightly, as if to prove your innocence. Looking up, eyes red, staring at Bai Ningbing, I threw it. Seeing you look like you've suffered a great injustice, eager to wag your tail at your master to prove loyalty like a puppy. That nameless anger in Bai Ningbing's heart, she pushed the shopping cart ahead expressionlessly. You, wearing your school uniform, followed like a little tail, step by step. The milk at home was gone. She stopped in front of the cold storage, just mentioning it casually. You immediately stood on tiptoe, skillfully took down her usual brand from the top shelf, gently placed it in the cart. She then walked to the fresh food section. You quickly followed, picked up tongs and started selecting, more seriously than anyone. You pressed it, then brought it close to smell, only then packed it with satisfaction. The auntie picking vegetables beside stared in shock. Oh my, young man, your technique is even better than us old folks. Not many boys nowadays can cook. Your mom is really blessed. Hearing this, your face instantly flushed bright red, flustered as you tried to explain. No, auntie. This is me. Before you could finish, Bai Ningbing interrupted blandly. She's just used to doing work at home. This sentence directly shifted the auntie's attention to her. Oh, so you're the sister. Your little brother is so capable. And handsome too. You're really lucky. Hearing this, Bai Ningbing's face remained calm, but inside it was like a sip of honey, the corner of her mouth curving almost imperceptibly. Then she dropped a word, "By fish." She walked to the seafood area. A fishy smell hit you. You pointed at the liveliest sea bass in the tank. "Sir. Please catch that one. Make sure to clean the black membrane in the belly and remove the gills. Her stomach is weak, can't handle the fishy taste." Besides that, Bai Ningbing, who was pretending to look at seafood, suddenly stiffened. Weak stomach. Even her best friend only knew she had irregular eating habits. No one had ever known she had chronic stomach trouble. How did you know? The softest part of her heart suddenly felt like something had fiercely slammed into it. Back at the villa, taking advantage of no one being home, you dove straight into the kitchen. Pots and pans instantly clattered. Bai Ningbing sat in the living room trying to handle paperwork. But the smell of food mixed with herbal medicine hooked her soul like a lure. Soon, you walked out with a tray. "Miss Bai, dinner is ready." Bai Ningbing sat down and took a sip of soup. A warm current rose from her stomach, instantly dispelling the fatigue and chill that had accumulated all day. After finishing the meal, she felt warm all over. She let out a comfortable sigh. You silently cleaned up the dishes, but your peripheral vision was always fixed on her. Watching her get up to go back to her room, the longing in your heart suddenly grew wild like weeds. Reaching the stairs, you suddenly took 2 quick steps, not giving her a chance to turn around. You reached out your hands, gently wrapped them around her slender waist from behind. At that moment, Bai Ningbing, held in your arms, tensed up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Just as she was about to explode, you lightly rested your head on her back, carrying the clean scent unique to a young man. Whispered against her ear, "Miss Bai, from now on, I'll take care of your stomach. Okay?" The warm breath brushed her ear, like an electric current sending tingling numbness. Bai Ningbing's hand, about to push you away, froze in midair. Her heart pounded chaotically in her chest. "Let go." Her voice was dry, with an almost imperceptible tremor. But you didn't move. Instead, you tightened your arms. "How dare you?" These 2 words were as cold and hard as iron. Finally snapped you out of it. You hesitated, then reluctantly let go. Bai Ningbing quickly went upstairs without looking back at you. The next day, the villa's dining table exploded. Lu Ruyan held up her phone, grinning like a sneaky fox. "Sisters, look, my crush is famous. First love little chef. 2 million likes in one night." Gu Qingqing swallowed a custard bun, eyes nearly popping out. "Wow, 2 million? On the screen was a side profile of you busy in the kitchen. Lighting outlined your jawline. The focused atmosphere was absolutely stunning. You just walked out of the kitchen with a bowl of congee. Your whole body froze instantly, face flushing down to your neck. "Sister Ruyan, you." Lu Ruyan winked at you triumphantly. "Oh, Xiao Chang, you're famous. Didn't I have good taste?" Just then, the sound of high heels came from the stairs. Bai Ningbing walked downstairs with a cold expression, her gaze sweeping across the phone screen as the pressure around her plummeted. "Delete it." Lu Ruyan's smile froze. "Bing bing. This is worth millions in traffic. I'll say it again, delete it." Bai Ningbing's voice was as cold as ice shards. Lu Ruyan felt a chill under her stare and could only press the delete button on the spot. But it was already too late. When you appeared at the gate of Icon No. 2 High School carrying your backpack, the scene before you made you feel like you had traveled to a celebrity fan meeting. It was all girls from other schools, holding up their phones, craning their necks in anticipation. The crowd erupted the moment they saw you. "It's the little chef. Oh my god, he's even cuter in person than in the video. Little brother, look here. Big sister will buy you candy." Flashlights flashed wildly, screams rising and falling. You were like a startled rabbit, frozen and at a loss from the sudden burst of enthusiasm. In the end, escorted by the security guards, you barely managed to squeeze through the school gate. The entire day you sat on pins and needles. Your desk was inexplicably stuffed with snacks and love letters, and girls kept peeking through the window. You felt less like a person and more like an item displayed in a shop window. At the same time, on the top floor of Baisher Group, Secretary Zhang pushed open the door with a grave expression. "President Bai, even though the source has been deleted, the keyword first love little chef has already surged into the top 10 trending topics." Lu Ruyan was still lamenting the lost traffic. "What's wrong, Bing Bing? I already deleted it. What do you take her for?" Bai Ningbing's voice was eerily calm. But it instantly silenced the other end of the line. "A tool to gain followers for you? I just think she's so wonderful. She should be known by more people. Whether she's wonderful or not is not for you to announce to the world. Bai Ningbing's voice was icy, every word carrying an undeniable dominance. From now on, nothing about her is allowed to be released without my permission, not even a single word. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind making your beauty studio completely disappear from Kuanqing. There was silence on the other end for a moment, then a muffled "oh" from Lu Ruyan a few seconds later. After hanging up, Bai Ningbing rubbed her throbbing forehead, but the anger in her heart refused to subside. It was the irritation of having her private property peeped at, making her unable to sit still for even a moment. Without further thought, she grabbed her car keys and rushed straight out of the office. At the same time, on the rooftop of the teaching building, you sat alone. Letting the wind mess up your hair, the noise from downstairs suffocated you. Just then, the iron door of the rooftop creaked open, and the sound of Bai Ningbing's high heels approached from far to near. She walked to your side and watched the traffic in the distance with you, without saying a word. You buried your head deeper, your voice as faint as a mosquito's hum. I'm sorry for causing you more trouble again. Isn't it just a few people looking at you? Bai Ningbing's voice was stiff, showing no emotion. Why hide? You pressed your lips tightly, gripping the hem of your clothes, afraid to answer. Seeing you so dejected, her irritation deepened. Suddenly, she took out a candy from her pocket, peeled off the wrapper, and directly stuffed it into your mouth. It was a lemon-flavored hard candy. You were completely stunned, lifting your head blankly. Bai Ningbing turned to look at you. My biggest trouble is that you hide everything from me. Watching your clear eyes widen in surprise, she inexplicably extended her pinky finger, her voice very soft, but with absolute authority. From now on, don't take everything on yourself. Tell me. Staring blankly at that slender, fair finger, you hesitated for a moment, then finally reached out, gently hooking your pinky with hers. Pinky swear. At this moment, two fingers locked tightly together, forming a promise that was both childish and solemn. Little did you know, while you were immersed in this warmth, in an inconspicuous black car on a distant street corner, a cold telephoto lens was locked tightly on you too. At a weekend high society business gala, Bai Ningbing brought you along. She even generously announced to the crowd that you were her brother. In an instant, you became prey in others' eyes. A group of wealthy ladies surrounded you. President Bai, your brother is really handsome. Is he going into the entertainment industry? Hearing this, Bai Ningbing frowned slightly. She didn't like the way they looked at you like they were appraising a product, so she made an excuse and pulled you to a quiet corner. She handed you a glass of orange juice and said, "Wait for me here. Don't run around." Then she turned around to deal with the clients. But you, like a piece of Tang monk's flesh thrown into a pack of wolves, had still caught someone's eye. A voluptuous woman holding a wine glass swayed over. Suddenly, she stumbled, intentionally leaning towards you with a soft cry. Half a glass of red wine lands squarely all over your pristine white suit. Little brother, I'm so sorry. The woman apologizes with her lips, but her eyes are full of hooks. Her hand casually slides onto your chest, as she ambiguously wipes at the wine stain, her voice dripping with seduction. Look. It's all wet. How about big sister takes you upstairs to change into something clean, alright? Your body freezes instantly, instinctively wanting to step back, but her grip only tightens. Just then, a clear laugh laced with the chill of iced tea rings out behind you. Miss Zhang. Bai Ningbing strides over, his gaze fixed only on the glaring wine stain on your chest. How dare you touch what's mine? The woman's face turns pale in an instant. Don't you smell the alcohol? Need me to call an ambulance for you? With each question Bai Ningbing asks, the woman's face grows wider by a shade. Since you're not sick. Bai Ningbing's tone suddenly shifts. Then keep your hands to yourself. The woman's face is full of humiliation. She shrieks, Bai Ningbing, don't go too far. Too far? Bai Ningbing finds it amusing. He directly pulls out his phone and dials a number. Hello, President Zhang? Your daughter's had a bit too much here, causing a scene. Oh, and by the way, our legal team will reassess the cooperation project for the plot south of the city tomorrow. After saying that, Bai Ningbing hangs up without even glancing at the security guard. Please escort Miss Zhang out to sober up. The next second, Bai Ningbing grabs your wrist and turns toward the lounge. The door closes, shutting out all the noise. You're still in shock, at a loss. Then Bai Ningbing's voice rings out again. What are you standing there for? Take it off. Hearing this, your face burns. Your fingers fumble awkwardly with the buttons. But you can't get them undone. So clumsy. Bai Ningbing can't stand it anymore. He steps forward directly. The cool tips of his fingers touch your skin, and you flinch violently. Button by button comes undone. The suit jacket and shirt are removed, revealing your slender upper body. But his gaze suddenly stops on your arm. The faint purple bruise from the last fight is still there. His fingers unconsciously glide lightly over that patch of skin, making you hold your breath. Bai Ningbing snaps back to reality and yanks his hand away as if shocked. He takes a spare white shirt from the nearby rack and tosses it to you. Change into this. You put it on frantically, but when you try to fasten the top button, you get stuck again. Bai Ningbing sighs. He has no choice but to step forward again. This time, the distance between you is even closer. You can almost feel his breath, warm as it brushes past your chin. Your face is so red it feels like it's about to bleed. There, Bai Ningbing finally fastens the button, quickly stepping back to put distance between you. Let's go. The drive back to the city is dead silent. You stare at the neon lights racing backward outside the window, your mind a tangled mess. In the end, you speak up in a small voice. Thank you, Miss Bai. No need. Bai Ningbing looks straight ahead, his voice flat. I told you. You're mine. But his next sentence extinguishes the warmth that just started rising in you. Even though, I still find that marriage contract ridiculous. With those words, your heart chills halfway. Yet as the car passes through an intersection, his tone takes a sharp turn in the darkness. But, I don't dislike you. Hearing this, you turn your head sharply to look at him. In a very soft voice, Bai Ningbing recounts that piece of the past. Back then, the Bai family was on the verge of bankruptcy. It was your grandfather who sold off all his assets to pull the Bai family back from the brink. This marriage contract was the only condition he proposed at the time. He said he couldn't rest easy about his only grandson. So do you understand now? No matter how much I detest this arrangement, I have a responsibility to keep you safe. Bai Ningbing attributes everything to responsibility, but you can tell from his white-knuckled grip on the steering wheel how tense he is right now. Another weekend, you sneak into the kitchen before dawn. When Bai Ningbing comes downstairs, he's hit by a rich, overpowering aroma of meat. On the dining table is a pot of glistening red braised pork. Don't touch it. You block him protectively, mumbling indistinctly. This is for Grandpa Bai. On the way to the old mansion, you clutch the insulated food container. Nervous the whole way. I heard Grandpa Bai loves braised pork. My grandpa used to make it for him all the time. At the Bai family's old mansion, Old Master Bai sits in a Taisher chair, hale and hearty. But when that pot of braised pork is placed in front of him, his murky eyes lit up slightly, and he picked up his chopsticks to take a piece. The meat melted in the mouth, rich but not greasy. The old man's hands began to tremble slightly. His voice was hoarse, and his eyes instantly reddened. It tasted just like old he's cooking. After the meal, the old man told you to go wander in the yard, but kept Bai Ningbing alone. The old man grabbed her hand, his aged hand now surprisingly strong. He stared intently at Bai Ningbing. Bing Bing, do you still think this kid is a problem? I said earnestly. I'm putting it out there today. If you don't want him, there are plenty of people lining up to take him. Think it over yourself. Coming out of the old mansion, the atmosphere in the car was suffocating. Bai Ningbing gripped the steering wheel tightly. Grandpa's words stung her heart. Was it obligation? Or was it something else? She couldn't help but turn her head to look at you in the passenger seat. He was sitting quietly, clutching the now empty insulated lunchbox. He noticed her gaze. He turned his head, a hint of inquiry in his eyes. Bai Ningbing suddenly looked away. She coldly spat out 2 words. But late at night, Bai Ningbing tossed and turned in bed. She couldn't sleep at all. The taste of that braised pork, and Grandpa's all-seeing eyes. Frustrated, she sat up and got out of bed. When she walked to the kitchen, she found the refrigerator door slightly ajar, soft light spilling out. She saw a dark figure crouching suspiciously in front of the fridge, as if stealing something. Bai Ningbing now saw who it was and walked over. Gu Qingqing, what are you doing? Ah. Gu Qingqing was so startled she jumped, the tin cookie box in her hand clattering. It fell to the floor. Bing Bing, why are you down here too? Can't sleep. Bai Ningbing's gaze fell on the cookies you had baked that afternoon. Seeing where she was looking, Gu Qingqing patted her chest. Swallowing the cookie in her mouth, she said, I kept dreaming about Xiao Chang's cooking. Hungry, woke me up. Gu Qingqing picked up the cookie box from the floor and suddenly changed the subject. Bing Bing. What are you really thinking? Bai Ningbing leaned against the counter, saying nothing. I'll be honest with you, Gu Qingqing shoved another cookie into her mouth, her voice distorted by the food. Bing bing, I can't hold out much longer. At this, Bai Ningbing's eyebrow twitched. Before, I thought he was just a little brat who could cook. Fun to tease, Gu Qingqing said, her usual loud voice gone. But now, he remembers I can't have cold drinks. He remembers Ruyan is on a diet. He even knows your stomach is weak and deliberately put less pepper in the pork belly soup. He's not just cooking. He's using his own way to quietly take care of all of us. Gu Qingqing's voice grew softer. But every word struck home. Bing bing, I'm being spoiled rotten by him. If this goes on, I'm afraid I won't care about sisterhood or my best friend's fiancé. I'll just take him away. She stared hard at Bai Ningbing. You locked him in the storage room. Then moved him to the second floor. Protect him outside, but give him the cold shoulder at home. Bai Ningbing. What exactly do you see him as? A burden Grandpa forced on you, or your personal toy? If you don't want him, let him go now. After saying that, Gu Qingqing stuffed the last cookie into her mouth and turned to leave. I'm full. Think it over. In the kitchen, Bai Ningbing was left alone. She looked at the half-empty cookie box. Her mind was a mess. She went back to the bedroom and lay awake all night. The next morning, you had just set breakfast on the table when Bai Ningbing came downstairs dressed. Without a word, she took the porridge and sandwich in front of you and stuffed them into a takeout container. Don't eat. Come with me. You looked confused. But you still followed her into the car. Soon, the car stopped in front of a majestic building. Kuan-Chin Group. Bai Ningbing dragged you into a reception room. A man in gold-rimmed glasses was already waiting. He slid a document over to Bai Ningbing. Grantor, Bai Ningbing. Grantee, He Chong. Grant includes Kuan-Cheng's top-tier Riverview mansion and penthouse duplex, plus 2 parking spaces. You were completely stunned. You looked up at her in shock. Miss Bai? What does this mean? Exactly what it says. Bai Ningbing's tone was flat. From today, this house is yours. The lawyer beside him handed over a pen. Mr. He, just sign here. You looked at the document. But it was like staring at a red-hot branding iron. You shook your head, then pushed the file back. I don't want it. Bai Ningbing's brows furrowed. Do you know how much this house is worth? I don't want it. Your voice was soft yet strikingly clear. Why? Bai Ningbing's patience finally ran out. He couldn't understand why you would refuse something that an ordinary person would spend several lifetimes trying to obtain. At that moment, you stood up and met his eyes for the first time. Those eyes, always submissive before, were now filled with defiance. Miss Bai, my grandfather sent me to the Bai family to repay a debt of gratitude. He said I must protect you, just as he protected Grandpa Bai. You spoke each word. With perfect clarity, I came to the Bai family to protect my sister. Not for money. Bai Ningbing was frozen solid. Every bit of his logic about interests and entanglements was shattered by your single sentence at that moment. You called him sister, for the first time. Not Miss Bai, not President Bai, but sister. Looking at you like this, the iceberg of indifference built over more than 20 years inside her heart collapsed in an instant. All rationality, all scheming vanished into thin air, leaving only a crazy thought that even she herself feared. Say that again. Bai Ningbing's voice was actually trembling. I am. You were a bit startled by the sudden shift in her aura. But before you could finish, Bai Ningbing took a step forward, and under the notary lawyer's jaw-dropping gaze, spoke hoarsely yet overwhelmingly assertively. Fine, if you won't take the house, then exchange it for a title. With that, Bai Ningbing grabbed your wrist and rushed out of the notary office. Sitting in the Maserati, the atmosphere in the car was suffocatingly low. She regretted it. Feeling furious and dismayed at her loss of control, she started the car, her voice ice-cold. Forget what just happened. It was just an accident. Your heart was instantly frozen, then thrown into a blazing fire. You saw her fair neck. Just then, the school beauty, dressed in a white gown, walked through the crowd and stood before you. Her cheeks flushed. She gathered her courage and handed you her water bottle. Kachong, I like you. Boom, the whole place erupted. Whistles and screams almost lifted the entire court. Holding the water bottle, you are completely stunned, your cheeks flushed bright red. Wanting to refuse but unable to speak. Just as you are at a loss, the harsh roar of an engine approaches from afar, a black Maybach in an extremely aggressive manner screeches to a halt at the edge of the basketball court. In an instant, the whole place falls silent. The car door opens. Bai Ningbing steps out in 10-centimeter heels, wearing sunglasses, her red lips tightly pressed, radiating full power, like a queen inspecting her territory. She walks straight up to you and Li Shiyu. Not even sparing you a glance, her gaze behind the sunglasses fixed solely on the water bottle in Lee Shiyu's hand. The next second, she reaches out, gracefully taking the water bottle from Lee Shiyu's stiff hand. Under the shocked stares of the entire school, she twists off the cap, tilts her head back, and takes a sip. When she lowers the bottle, a vivid lipstick mark is left on the rim. Then she shoves that bottle, now marked with her own lip print, directly into your arms. Home, dinner. Her voice is soft, yet strikes like a thunderbolt. With that, she puts her sunglasses back on, turns, and walks away, never giving anyone another look. You feel as if a spell has been broken. Clutching the water bottle still carrying her warmth and scent, you follow her absent-mindedly. The Maybach speeds off, leaving behind a crowd of stunned onlookers and a pale-faced school beauty. On the bleachers in a corner of the court, Lu Ruyan holds up her phone, laughing uncontrollably. She quickly sends the video she just recorded to the fairy sister has descended group chat. TSK TSK TSK, boss bye, your reputation is ruined. This mess is so big, I could smell it from the third floor stands. At Binding Bean. Gu Qingqing also chimes in after watching. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Binbin is awesome, that dominant wife energy is fierce. Love it, love it. In the car, Binding Bean picks up her phone, glances at it, and replies with just one word. Get out. Back to the villa. You feel like you've caused trouble again. You have to do something to make amends. So you open the fridge with only one thought in mind. You're going to pull out all the stops. 2.5 hours later, when Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan come downstairs, drawn by the aroma, they're completely stunned. On the dining table are several delicate dishes, and in the center sits a bowl of crystal-clear soup. In the soup lie a few perfectly cooked cabbage hearts. Oh my god. Gu Qingqing's eyes nearly pop out. No way. Clear broth cabbage hearts. Lu Ruyan also looks utterly incredulous. This dish appears plain and watery, but it's actually the peak of national banquet cuisine. Just then, Binding Bean comes downstairs in her changed clothes. Her footsteps suddenly halt. You immediately walk out of the kitchen, still wearing an apron, your face full of apology and anxiety. Miss Bai, I'm here to make it up to you. Binding Bean says nothing. She sits down at the head of the table. You quickly ladle out a small bowl of soup. You gently place it in front of her. She picks up the spoon and takes a sip. The moment the soup enters her mouth, an indescribable freshness and fragrance explodes layer by layer on her taste buds. Her face, tense all afternoon, finally relaxes involuntarily. She puts down the spoon and looks up at you. Don't let it happen again. You nod vigorously, your face breaking into a relieved smile. The atmosphere at the table finally eases. Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan each ladle themselves a bowl. They praise you endlessly. Xiao Chang, having a little brother like you. I'm lucky in 3 lifetimes, sis says. But just as you're all enjoying this rare warm moment. Ding dong, the doorbell suddenly rings. Gu Qingqing puts down her bowl. She gets up to open the door. Who is it so late? Don't they let people eat in peace? She pulls the door open wide. Outside stands a middle-aged man in a suit and leather shoes, with a refined demeanor. Behind him are 2 black-suited bodyguards. The man looks past Gu Qingqing, his gaze locking precisely onto you in the dining room. His eyes well up with excitement and guilt, along with a wild joy of finding something long lost. The next second, his voice trembling, he holds up a thick file folder. I'm here to find He Chang. I'm his biological father. I'm looking for He Chang, the man repeats. His voice carries deliberate flattery. I'm his biological father, He Bingkuan. The moment those 4 words, biological father, leave his mouth, the color drains from your face instantly. The chopsticks in your hand clatter onto the table. You feel that steaming bowl of clear broth cabbage hearts go ice cold in an instant. Lu Ruyan's charming smile also vanishes. Her eyes turn icy as she scrutinizes him. Biological father? You only think to look for him now? Isn't it a little late? He Bingkuan's smile freezes immediately. He waves his hands hastily. No, it's not too late. I've wronged this child. I've been looking for him for years. Before he can finish, Binding Bean cuts him off directly. She doesn't even stand up. She just gives him a cold glance. What business do you have with him? He Bingkuan's gaze, however, is fixed firmly on you. That look is a mix of guilt, excitement, and a hint of greed. His voice trembles as he calls out. Xiao Chang, I'm your dad. Dad has come to take you home. Hearing this, your body trembles uncontrollably, but you don't answer. Instead, you silently stand up. Step by step, you walk behind Binding Bean. You reach out and grip the edge of her clothes tightly. Your knuckles turn white from the force. This small gesture becomes like an invisible wall, cutting you off completely from that man. Bean instantly understands. This isn't ordinary fear. This is a deep-seated aversion to the word home that comes from your very bones. She also understands that this so-called father isn't here to mend a family bond at all. He's here for the Bai family, for that marriage contract, and the enormous interests behind it. You are just the brick he uses to knock on the door. He says he's looked for you for years. Bean's voice is very calm, but she's asking you standing behind her. Your grip on her clothes tightens even more. Your head hangs low. Your voice is so faint it's almost inaudible, but it carries a suppressed tremor. I've been in the orphanage since I was a child. This single sentence instantly punctures all of Bingkuen's lies. His expression turns extremely ugly. Gu Qingqing immediately lets out a cold laugh. Hear that? While our Xiaocheng was suffering in the orphanage, where was you, dear old dad, making your fortune? Bingkuen's eyes shift nervously. But he instantly puts on a pained expression. It's my fault. I failed in my duty as a father. Xiaocheng, come home with me. Dad will make it up to you from now on. Saying this, he actually tries to barge in. Bean finally stands up. She is very tall. Wearing high heels, her presence instantly overpowered the middle-aged man in front. She blocked you. Like a lioness protecting her cub, she completely shielded you behind her and coldly spat out one word, scram. Bingkuen was stunned on the spot. He never imagined this woman would be so direct. He tried to argue, Miss Bai, this is our family matter. But Bean didn't even acknowledge him. She directly picked up her phone and dialed an internal line, security. 2.5 seconds later, 2 black-suited bodyguards emerged from the shadows of the villa, their eyes cold. Bingkuen's face turned deathly pale. He yelled at Bean, you can't do this. I'm his father. I have the right to take my son. Take him away? Bean laughed, a laugh full of cold mockery. She slightly turned sideways, letting Bingkuen clearly see the face of the person hiding behind her, pale and trembling all over. Ask her. Ask if she's willing to go with you. Your clear eyes were full of terror. You poked half your head out from behind her, looking at that strange man, and shook your head vigorously. Seeing your reaction, Bean withdrew her gaze and gave the final order. Throw him out. Bean, what gives you the right? Bingkuen's outburst was cut short. The 2 bodyguards, like grabbing a chick, each seized one of his arms. They dragged him straight out. With a loud bang, the heavy wrought iron door closed, blocking out all sound from outside. No one spoke in the dining room. The bowl of plain cabbage and supreme soup you had poured all your heart into, trying to win her favor, had gone cold. That night, you developed a high fever. Your whole body burned red. You kept muttering deliriously, don't hit me. My steamed bun. Bean stayed by your bedside, repeatedly using warm water to cool you down physically. Gu Qingqing and Lu Rian also paced anxiously, one cooking ginger tea, the other fetching the medical kit. In the late hours, the fever finally subsided. But you fell into a nightmare. You sat bolt upright in bed, gasping heavily. Cold sweat all over your forehead. Bean turned on the light, a soft glow illuminating your face, streaked with tears. A nightmare? You looked at her. Your eyes hollow, without a word. Bean's heart tightened. She pulled you straight out of bed, wrapped you tightly in a blanket, and carried you to the living room sofa. She let you lean against her. Sleep. She turned off the main light, leaving only a dim floor lamp. Don't be afraid. Sister is here. Your warm body leaned against hers, like a weary bird finally finding a harbor. Just when she thought you had fallen asleep, a voice thick with nasal congestion whispered softly in her ear. Sister, in the orphanage, winter had no heating. You spoke calmly, as if telling someone else's story. We had to fight for food. I ran slowly, so I could never get any. Once, I was hungry for 3 days. The kitchen auntie secretly gave me a cold steamed bun. You paused. Bean could clearly feel the body leaning on her shoulder trembling slightly. Then the older kids in the yard saw me. They dragged me into the bathroom. They pushed my head into a bucket of water until I handed over that bun. Lu Rian's arms around you tightened unconsciously. Dawn was breaking. A ray of morning light streamed in through the floor-to-ceiling window, bathing the living room in a layer of pale golden glow. Gu Qingqing and Lu Rian tiptoed down the stairs. When they saw the scene on the sofa, they both stopped in their tracks. In the living room at that moment, you had been leaning against Bean on the sofa, sleeping all night. When Gu Qingqing and Lu Rian tiptoed down the stairs, and saw this scene on the sofa, they both stopped in unison. Bai Ningbing's eyes were bloodshot. Her face haggard. She looked at her friends, her voice hoarse yet eerily calm. Investigate. Investigate that man named He Bingkuan. Investigate his whole lineage. As she spoke, she looked down at you, sleeping in her arms with tear stains on your face. Her voice was as cold as if it came from hell. I'll make his life a living hell. Half an hour later, Secretary Zhang called. His voice carried a repressed anger. Boss Bai, it's all been found out. That He Bingkuan is no businessman at all. He's a complete gambler. He lost everything in the casinos. He owes 12 million. He tracked down He Chang to sell him off to his creditors as payment. Bai Ningbing listened, her face expressionless. She simply raised her hand and gently brushed the stray hair from your forehead. His damp hair soaked with cold sweat, he commanded in a soft, elegant voice, clean it up. After this fever, I don't want to hear that name again, nor see that person. You've changed. You've become more distant. Bai Ningbing was in the study handling documents. You would move a small stool and sit at his feet, quietly reading a book. When he went to the company, you would wait for him at the entrance half an hour early, holding his briefcase and car keys. As long as he was there, your gaze would always follow him, like a small animal afraid of being abandoned again. Gu Qingqing teased. Oh no, our Binbin has successfully domesticated the little puppy into a keychain. Lu Ruyan, however, smiled ambiguously. What keychain? This is called a loyal dog. Bai Ningbing said it was annoying, but his body was honest. He found he no longer needed an alarm clock. What woke him every day was the assertive yet gentle aroma of rice from the kitchen downstairs. By the dining table, you placed a bowl of warm millet and pumpkin porridge in front of him. Miss Bai, it's colder today. Drink something to warm your stomach. Bai Ningbing looked at the golden porridge, then at your clean, clear eyes. He suddenly remembered before meeting you. His mornings used to be an iced Americano and 2 stomach pain pills, leaving his stomach in churning, burning pain. So that iceberg wasn't melted by you, but warmed up bit by bowl after bowl of hot porridge. Days passed, and soon it was your 15th birthday. The best friend group chat was buzzing early in the morning. Gu Qingqing was the first to send a message, urgent notice, today is our little Chang's birthday. I prepared limited edition sneakers. Ningbing, what have you prepared? Don't tell me you forgot. Lu Ruyan followed, I booked a studio for him. A top photographer will take portraits. Bai Ningbing looked at the screen, his fingers paused for a long time, and only sent 2 words. Cake. The group instantly went silent. Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan both complained he was too perfunctory. But Bai Ningbing turned off his phone and dialed another number. Hello. Help me prepare a gift. Yes, for a 15-year-old boy. It must be unique. In the evening, when you pushed open the door with your backpack, you were greeted not by the familiar smell of home cooking, but by the bang of a party popper. And colorful confetti flying everywhere. All the lights in the living room were off, only the cake with 15 candles on the dining table emitted a soft glow. Happy birthday! Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan jumped out, already wearing funny birthday hats. You instantly froze in place, your eyes turning red. Growing up this big, you had never celebrated a birthday. You had even forgotten which day your birthday was. Gu Qingqing gave you a big hug. She urged you noisily, why are you crying, silly boy? Make a wish quickly. The light flickered, reflecting on your clean face. You looked at Gu Qingqing's smiling face, Lu Ruyan's blessings, and finally your gaze fell on Bai Ningbing not far away. He wasn't wearing a birthday hat and wasn't smiling, he just quietly looked at you. You closed your eyes, put your hands together, and silently prayed in your heart. I hope I can always be with the sisters, forever. Okay. Blow out the candles. You blew out the candles in one breath, and the living room instantly lit up. Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan eagerly shoved gifts into your hands, a pair of limited edition sneakers and a top-tier portrait contract. You solemnly thanked them. Thank you, Sister Shaoqing. Thank you, Sister Ruyan. Bing bing, what about yours? Gu Qingqing shouted at Bai Ningbing. Bai Ningbing walked over. He handed you a deep blue velvet box. Happy birthday. You nervously opened it. Inside lay a wristwatch. The dial was a deep starry sky pattern, with tiny diamonds inlaid into a star map. It was Orion, which you recognized at a glance. That was the only constellation you could identify in the orphanage. You looked up at him dazedly. The nonsense you spoke during your fever, saying the winters in the orphanage were very cold and the only pleasure was watching the stars, he remembered it all. Bai Ningbing looked at himself clearly reflected in your eyes. The iceberg in his heart completely melted at that moment. Not because of duty, not because of guilt, but simply because it was you in front of him. He reached out and naturally helped you put on the watch. From now on, I am your home. From now on every birthday of yours, I will celebrate it with you. Hearing this, you could no longer hold back your tears, which fell onto the starry sky. But just then, the doorbell rang inopportunely. Gu Qingqing grumpily went to open the door. Who is it? Don't you know we're in the middle of a touching family ceremony? When the door opened, he was stunned. Outside stood a woman in her 40s, dressed in a Chanel suit, with an extraordinary aura. A Bentley was parked behind her. The moment Bai Ningbin saw the woman, her gaze sharpened. Why her? Gu Hanshuang, the legendary woman who commanded the financial world, who built a massive business empire, the one Bai Ningbin had secretly admired and strived to catch up with, but Gu Hanshuang's gaze swept past everyone and landed precisely on you. That face, always calm and composed, showed its first crack. Her eyes reddened slightly, and with a trembling voice, she said, I've come for my son, He Chang. Inside the villa at that moment, Bai Ningbin and the others were celebrating your 15th birthday with you. But just then, Gu Hanshuang suddenly showed up, claiming she was your biological mother. She spoke coldly to Bai Ningbin, Miss Bai, I am He Chang's primary guardian. I'm taking him away. Go where? Gu Qingqing immediately grew anxious. Rushing forward to confront her, you claim to be his mother now? Where were you when he was digging through trash bins for food? But before she could finish, two bodyguards stood like walls, firmly blocking Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan. Gu Hanshuang didn't even lift her eyelids. She merely took a checkbook from her assistant, tore off a check and held it between her fingers. The Bai family's cash flow has been a bit tight lately, hasn't it? A smile with no warmth curled at the corner of Gu Hanshuang's lips. Here's 100 million, as your compensation for looking after my son. But Bai Ningbin kept her eyes lowered, not moving an inch. Seeing this, Gu Hanshuang tore off another check. Add another 100 million, 200 million. Then she swept her gaze across the house, letting out a light snort. With me, He Chang can attend the best schools and one day inherit my business empire. With you, what? Be your nanny? Or play out your childish sister-brother romance game? Bai Ningbin, you can't give him a future. You stood between them, head down, unable to say a word. Just then, Gu Hanshuang lost patience. She reached out to grab your arm directly. Xiao Chang, come with mommy. Mommy is taking you abroad. Just as her hand was about to touch your shoulder, you flinched back as if shocked, until your back hit a warm embrace. It was Bai Ningbin. You grabbed tightly onto the hem of her clothes, your fingers turning white from the force. You curled up behind her. When I had a fever of 40 degrees, only sister stayed by my side. When I was bullied, sister also stood up for me. You looked at the unfamiliar woman before you. You have money, you have a big house, but I don't know you. I don't want to go with a stranger. Upon hearing this, Gu Hanshuang's face instantly darkened like the bottom of a pot. She slammed the check heavily onto the shoe cabinet nearby, about to erupt. When, rip, Bai Ningbin picked up the 200 million check and tore it apart in front of everyone. Shreds of paper fluttered like snowflakes, landing on Gu Hanshuang's expensive high heels. Gu Hanshuang's eyes widened, and she screamed like a madwoman, Bai Ningbin, are you crazy? That was 200 million. But Bai Ningbin simply brushed the paper dust off her hands. She took your cold hand and wrapped it tightly in her palm. Looking straight into Gu Hanshuang's eyes, she said, word by word, He Chang is not merchandise. And I am not negotiating a business deal with you. He is my family, my person, no amount of money can buy him. Her last words were not loud, but they froze the entire room instantly. Get out, Bai Ningbin said coldly. Gu Hanshuang stared hard at Bai Ningbin, her chest heaving violently, clearly furious. But a few seconds later, she took a deep breath, put her sunglasses back on to hide the menacing look in her eyes. Bai Ningbin, you will regret this. With that, she turned and left. Bang! Gu Qingqing slammed the door shut with force. Finally, the world was quiet. All the tension shattered in that moment. The strength in your body seemed to drain away instantly. Your knees gave way, and you began to collapse straight down. He Chang, Bai Ningbin was quick to catch you in her arms, preventing you from hitting the floor. Cold sweat covered your forehead, your face as white as paper. And you gasped for air, your whole body trembling uncontrollably. It was the exhaustion after the adrenaline rush. Bai Ningbin tried to help you to the sofa, but you clung tightly to her sleeve, refusing to move. You looked up, your eyes filled with tears, your voice thick with a nasal tone. Sister, don't send me away. I won't go anywhere. I just want to stay with you. Binding Bean's heart felt as if it were being squeezed, sore and swollen. She raised her hand and gently wiped the corner of your eye with her fingertip, her movements very soft. But her voice carried a helpless sigh. You fool, besides my place here. Where else can you go? The next day, the villa suddenly had a mountain of gifts piled up, limited edition sneakers, the latest laptop, an astronomical telescope, and more. Altogether, they could have cost a fortune in Kuan City. Gu Qingqing sat cross-legged on the sofa, grabbed some melon seeds, and rolled her eyes. TSK, some people wouldn't even give a piece of bread before. But now they're playing Santa Claus. What do they call it? Belated affection is cheaper than grass. You stood in the corner with your backpack, staring at that pile of things, your eyes full of fear. I don't want it. Lu Ruyan walked down the stairs, kicking aside a bag. That was in the way. Then throw it away, or donate it. Just don't leave it here in the way, it's an eyesore. You didn't speak. Lowering your head, you skirted the gifts and fled to school. But what made you even more uncomfortable were the sudden rumors swirling around. Today, their eyes carried curiosity and jealousy, along with undisguised malice. Did you hear? That He Chong is a rich family's illegitimate child. Really? The female president of the Gu group personally came to pick her up, and she still won't leave. For money, she won't even acknowledge her own mother. These words were like knives, stabbing into your ears one by one. You sat in the back row of the classroom, burying your head deep in your arms to block out those swirling rumors. After school, you went straight home, hid in the kitchen to cut vegetables, but your mind was full of those harsh voices, illegitimate child, for money. With a hiss, the blade fell, and a sharp pain shot through your fingertip. You clumsily bandaged it with gauze, only to wrap your finger into a swollen, radish-like shape. Just then, the door opened. Binding Bean walked in, looking exhausted, and saw the room full of gifts. Her brow instantly furrowed. Haven't these been thrown away yet? Gu Qingqing said, We're waiting for you to decide. After all, it's the big gift from President Gu. But before Binding Bean could respond, she saw you walking out of the kitchen. Her eyes focused immediately. What happened to your hand? As she spoke, she strode over. A little blood had already seeped through the gauze. I was cutting vegetables, accidentally did it. You said softly, trying to pull your hand back, but Binding Bean stared intently at the wound. Then shifted her gaze to your evasive eyes. She instantly understood, the kid wasn't just hurt physically. Even his spirit was crushed. He had clearly been stabbed a few times. Binding Bean let go of your hand, turned around, and directly dialed a number. On the other end came Secretary Gu Hanchuang's polite voice. Miss Bai, is it that young master he likes the gifts? Binding Bean coldly cut her off. Tell Gu Hanchuang, if she doesn't want the Gu Group stock price to hit the limit down tomorrow, then put away her disgusting tricks, and keep her mouth shut, if I hear one more rumor about He Chong. At school, she swept her gaze over the room full of luxury goods and said word by word, I will burn all this stuff for her, consider it an early grave offering. With that, Binding Bean slammed the phone down hard. Letting out a long breath, she suddenly remembered something. She kicked another gift box at her feet and turned to you. Change your shoes. Come out with me. At the convenience supermarket nearby, Binding Bean pushed a worn-out shopping cart ahead. You followed. Of course. What else? Grab a potato, tender, with a bit of rough skin. Fresh. Watching her direct like that, you couldn't help but laugh. The woman who casually tore up a 200 million check was now only concerned with potatoes at $2.50 a pound and shallots at $1.80 a bunch. You walked over and carefully picked out eggs. That uneasy feeling of being gossiped about instantly vanished. You softly called out to her. Sister, how about tomato and egg noodles for dinner? Back at the villa, those eyesore gifts had indeed been cleared out completely. The kitchen was steaming hot, 2 simple bowls of noodles. She set down her chopsticks, pulled out a tissue to wipe her mouth. Her gaze finally settled on your bandaged finger, then on your face, which had finally regained some color. At that moment, what was in her eyes was a peace that no amount of money could buy. Binding Bean watched you clear the dishes, her hands on her knees suddenly clenching into fists. She knew that to protect this peace, a check alone was far from enough. Gu Hanshuang was a wolf that devoured people, bones and all. The only way was to be stronger than her, strong enough to snap her spine with one stomp. You murmured ancient poems and chemistry equations even in your dreams. After all, this was the real big exam of your life. At that moment, the door clicked open as Bai Ningbin walked in wearing casual home clothes, carrying a glass of hot milk. She placed the milk beside you, said nothing, and turned to sit on the sofa. Picking up a financial magazine, she pretended to read. These past few days, to accompany you through exam prep. She had turned down all social engagements, even postponing multi-million-dollar projects. You glanced at the clock on the wall. It was already 11:30 p.m. Rubbing your eyes, your voice hoarse, you said, "Sister, you go to bed first. I'll drink the milk." You picked up the milk, warm and sweet, instantly calming all your anxiety. You stole a glance at her, the formidable female CEO known for being ruthless at work, now staying up late with you, though you knew she couldn't really understand the material, just sitting there. As long as she was there, the problem didn't seem so hard. During the 3 days of the high school entrance exam, the sky over Kuan City seemed to have sprung a leak. Rain poured non-stop. Bai Ningbin drove herself, taking you to school without even calling a driver. The car entered the curtain of rain, the wipers frantically sweeping. You sat in the passenger seat, watching the blurry streetscape outside. A sense of security settling in. Soon the car stopped steadily at the exam center entrance. Bai Ningbin unbuckled her seatbelt, took a black umbrella from the back seat, and reminded you. Take your time getting out. But as you pushed open the car door, a sudden commotion erupted from the crowd. A familiar loud voice pierced through the rain. He Chong, look here. You froze, following the sound. Instantly petrified. At the most conspicuous spot near the school gate, Gu Qingqing and Lu Ruyan were holding up a huge banner with a line of big characters that made you want to die on the spot. Some people even pulled out their phones to take pictures. Your toes practically dug a 3-bedroom apartment into the floor. You wished you could disappear on the spot. I don't know them. You muttered, burying your face in your backpack. Bai Ningbin glanced at the banner, a slight twitch at the corner of her mouth. But he said nothing, just reached out and straightened your rain-dampened collar. His voice was cold yet oddly reassuring. Ignore those 2 lunatics. When the exam's over, I'll take you for hot pot. You nodded firmly, took a deep breath, grabbed the umbrella, and turned to dash into the rain. Meanwhile, across the street, a black Bentley sat quietly under the tree shade. Gu Hanshuang took off his sunglasses. Watching you turn back to wave at Bai Ningbin before entering the school gate, a smile on your face he had never seen before. Completely unguarded, the assistant in the front seat whispered, "Mr. Gu. Should we go over and say hello?" Gu Hanshuang was silent, looking at the prepared tutoring materials and the list of nutritional supplements in his hands, which suddenly seemed so unnecessary. No need. He slowly raised the window, tossed the document bag aside, and said, "Back to the office." The last exam, English, finished as the bell rang. You felt an immense weight lift. You surged out of the exam hall with the crowd. The rain had stopped. You stood on tiptoes, scanning the sea of heads, and instantly spotted that familiar figure. Bai Ningbin stood at the front of the cordon, stern-faced, rejecting a man who was trying to strike up a conversation. You pushed through the crowd, quickened your pace, and ran up to him. Slightly out of breath, "Sister." She looked at you, your hair slightly messy, your eyes full of joy. She reached out, no hug, no handshake, but gently patted you twice on the top of your head. "Let's go home." You grinned broadly, your eyes crinkling. "Okay, let's go home." 2 weeks later, the score-checking system went live. Gu Qingqing's hands moved faster than anyone's. She stared at the screen, nearly throwing the mouse in excitement. "You made it. Top 10 across the board." I knew our Xiaocheng was a study machine.